get those quivered. Yeah, and the Intimidate still going first on one side of the field, still most likely going to be the faster Pokemon. I don't think we've seen the confirmation of which Ursaluna is faster though, so that's always an interesting thing to see of how much speed do you commit and sacrifice your bulk or special attack, because lots of Ursalunas, especially the Yawn leftovers ones, do opt into a lot of bulk, and then just how much faster you go. We'll have to see on this first turn. Well, we may not be able to see because we might just see Protects here instead.
Well, Incineroar on tier team side switching out for the Rillaboom, knowing from game one that Juan was very confident to go for the fake out into this Incineroar. Now a Protect tier team not wanting to take any risk. Already a game up. Maybe doesn't feel the need to play this one quickly.
Yeah, there we go. There was the fake out into the Ursaluna on tier team side of the field. And there is that Yawn coming out. We're already in the Yawn Vortex on tier team side of the field, but because we had that fake out and just the Protect as well, the Yawns haven't started going on one side.
No, and now it is a choice. That choice that we've had throughout all of these games, whether or not you stay in. Now Rillaboom isn't able to get those Quiver Dance boosts up. It cannot just stay on the field and accept it. But even if there's a prediction here, maybe this is the time for tier team to go on the offensive, take a risk, and just go for a straight Wood Hammer into the Ursaluna, put it down at low HP, and then play the game from there. That could put tier team on the front foot if he wants to take a risk like that.
One of the main things that's going to be able to break through the Volcarona that we did get the sneak peek of in the back would be those Yawns, because otherwise you're going to be able to Quiver Dance completely freely here. But no, not going to be going on the offensive with the Rillaboom, not going for that Wood Hammer, potentially KOing that Ursaluna or bringing it incredibly low. It's instead going to be the safe switch in of the Incineroar once again.
And Protect on Ursaluna on one side of the field. These two teams are neck and neck so far. But here is the first deviation. Parting shot into the Ursaluna, making sure that it's not doing too much damage. Now, with tier team bringing in the Incineroar already, one gets to choose what Pokemon he's bringing in, and lo and behold, could you have guessed it, Jamie? It is the Rillaboom coming in unintimidated and getting yawned for.
Esqueço dessa batalha.
Intimidated and getting yawned for his troubles.
This is a true mirror here, because yeah, the Rillaboom it's well, true mirror. Things usually happen on the same turn. This is like slightly staggered.
This is like a slightly cracked mirror here, where we're slightly offset on either side of the mirror there. But I think the key with these matchups is that, like in game one, things don't happen in the first few turns because these teams are so bulky, they have so much staying power, and they're able to
we went for the Wood Hammer, no,
go for it. Here's the Wood Hammer, and it is enough. It's enough. Juanzaleno gets a big KO onto that Ursaluna. That is absolutely critical. No more yawns, but this Rillaboom will go to sleep at the end of this turn. Now we're getting that mirror, the parting shot coming into the Ursaluna, dropping its special attack and attack stat, where Incineroar gets to switch into another Pokemon. But if this Ursaluna has already gone on the offensive as well, or even just
deixa eu pegar aqui rapidinho, já leio o teu comentário, Marlon.
Now is the Rillaboom, then it could be a pretty swift game here. Blood Moon into the Rillaboom, good amount of damage.
Yeah, but I think the Yawn was surely preferable there, because now you can bring in that Volcarona that is waiting in the back, and now that the Rillaboom is asleep and has to take a guaranteed turn of sleep, you can very easily threaten down this Ursaluna with the Wood Hammer KO.
Esses cabas não sabem buildar. Oxi, como assim? Marlon, só lembra que quem tá no regional jogando é eles, não é você. Tem que lembrar esse detalhe. Os caras não querem sair de qualquer jeito, né, Marlon? É o top 4, pô. É o top 4, tem que lembrar disso, pô. Qualquer errinho aqui já era, pô.
The sleeping Rillaboom will not even take its mandatory turn of sleep here, switching straight out into the Incineroar, so making sure that tier team cannot go for the same sort of play that one just made, or Wood Hammer straight into that Ursaluna, and now instead
não é top 4, é top 4.
And get that Quiver Dance going. Double sure with the terrestrialization of the Terra Electric onto
the Ursaluna as well.
Yeah, just in case there was the Woodhammer, but no, it was the fake out, the safe play here, and you've now scouted the terrestrialization. Of course, the Volcarona always going to go for the Quiver Dance on that turn, and now you've got that Quiver Dance up. Maybe the Heatwave and Woodhammer would be enough to KO this Ursaluna. Of course, you've got the boosts on the defensive side to keep yourself safe from the knockoffs. You've got the boost on the special side to keep yourself safe from the blood moves. Now I think this turn of just that you've got a yawn, right? It's got to be a yawn into one of these Pokemon, because the Blood Moon won't be doing enough damage into the Assault Vest Rillaboom and the Quiver Dance for Corona. So now it's, do you yawn the Rillaboom to get the Yawn Vortex going guaranteed? Yeah, then if the Volcarona goes on the offensive, then that is really, really bad for you. And if the Volcarona goes on the offensive, the correct play would be fake out and yawn that Volcarona. So yeah, it's a bit of an awkward situation.
Pessoal tava desenhando W Place, não tô ligado não, ô Marlon, que isso? É W Place?
Will be in play, and the Sneasel will get its Unburden boost overall. But it's so difficult. I feel like Tier Team with a Pokemon down just has to make sure that those Quiver Dances are in play. I think that's why, again, we're getting that revolving door of Pokemon where Incineroar comes in for the Rillaboom, intimidates the Incineroar on one side, and now gets the opportunity to go for that second Quiver Dance here.
Pessoal, pode desenhar em qualquer lugar do mundo? Ah, eu acho que tá. Eu acho que eu sei.
Really nicely done there on Tier Team side of the field. What is this Ursaluna going to target? Is the on, and it was into the Volcarona, so we're able to catch that very, very nicely there. So this Volcarona, if it wants to keep all its boosts, which Tier Team it does definitely want to.
Ah, então estão desenhando por aí, é isso?
Then it will be going to sleep on this next turn.
Okay, but now the Volcarona gets the opportunity to get that third Quiver Dance.
Estão desenhando aí por onde for. Por essas bandas aí. Uma Hatsune Miku, meu Deus do céu.
Play a little bit more of that defensive game, get those parting shots, get the Incineroar out there, get the Rillaboom back in, get that grassy terrain up, but also more importantly, keep that fake out pressure going.
Yeah, and then the Volcarona I think is still in a prime position here, regardless of the fact that it's going to sleep on the next turn. The Ursaluna is still incredibly healthy, it hasn't been attacked at all. Do you consider just going for the Heatwave here, potentially to pick up that knockout? I think you need the Quiver Dance. I think the Quiver Dance, yeah, and that's exactly... in the back. Exactly,
I think that's exactly what Tier Team is thinking as well. If you can get to a point where the Sneasler is in the back, but you've got all three of your Quiver Dances up, then maybe all of the damage can come right at the end of the game.
Porque, meu Deus do céu, Hatsune Miku é da hora pra caramba. É um holograma que canta. Não, a comunidade é outra história. Não, eu falei, meu Deus do céu, porque o pessoal ele é meio doido, né? Eu tô ligado que a Hatsune Miku é da hora. Mas a personagem é da hora, então.
Thanking the Tier Team here for setting up that grassy terrain again, and yeah, just being able to get it up, get the grassy seed going on the Sneasler, and get that key Unburden boost. We do have the Volcarona now at 3 stages of increased speed, so it will be outspeeding the Sneasler. Into the Incineroar that did switch out. That could have been another yawn into the critical hit. Yeah, a little bit of an extra. And the special defense. So that special defense drop actually
então.
But if it would have been the yawn, then you'd have to make the awkward decision on Tier Team side of the field. Where do you fake out the Sneasler to definitely burn a turn?
É por esse tipo de coisa também que eu falo embaixo de outro vídeo, então até regular histórias. Meu Deus do céu.
The Sneasler, it's surely got to go for a Swords Dance on this turn because you've got it basically guaranteed. And Terraflying surely to... No, you can't even Terraflying because you've got the Terra Electric, so actually you could just go on the offensive with the Rillaboom because it does have access to that high horsepower, and we've seen before that was able to knock out the Lewis's Sneasler in the previous game. It could have done a lot of damage, but no, going for the Intimidate instead. Yeah, Incineroar switching in for that Rillaboom, getting the Intimidate back down onto it. I still think even without the Terraflying boost, the Sneasler's acrobatics is still going to be very much a threat in this spot. Now Ursaluna coming back and probably wanting to do a similar thing to what Tier Team's been doing. Bring those fake outers with a Pokemon that can boost up. It's already got all of the speed that it needs, but it maybe needs a couple of extra Swords Dances to be able to come back into this match.
Mano, imagina como é que foi esse show. Meu Deus do céu. Não, e o pessoal, você vê que o pessoal é muito criativo, né, pra fazer, até pra fazer coisa suja, o pessoal tem que ter uma criatividade tamanha.
Yeah, it seems like Jawan's going for the oh no, it doesn't even matter here because we've got the wake up immediately from the Volcarona, and it's a fourth Gdansk coming out from this Volcarona. Wow, it is incredibly boosted right now, but that was the fake out into the Sneasler to put a stop to any of the swords dances or acrobatics, but they've got the parting shot at least from the Incineroar that's going to cancel that, their quiver dance.
Yeah, so effectively at the moment, this Volcarona is at 2 increased stages of special attack, but 4 increased stages of special defense, and speed is certainly going to be the fastest thing out there. And I feel like if the question that we were asking at the start of this game was how many quiver dances does this Volcarona want to get, the answer is yes.
Who knows, maybe we'll get to +6 by the end of the game, but the Volcarona still looks in a prime position to be able to start going for those sweeps. You've broken through the yawn sleep now, that it would take an extra 2 turns to be able to put that Volcarona to sleep.
Meu Deus do céu, mano. Opa, salve Alexander, bem-vindo de volta, cara, como é que você tá?
Not enough to pick up the KO. Really needed those boosts to be coming in clutch on the Sneasler, and now this Incineroar gets to attack.
86 no Gold. Eu tô ligado. Eu falei com você, só que você não tava aí.
Tava que desenho. So this Volcarona is in prime position. Tier Team in Game 2 has yet to pick up any KOs, but is he about to pick up 4 KOs in quick succession?
Just seen that the Heatwave is for sure a 2 shot on that opposing Ursaluna.
Yeah.
+2 is that we've got a close combat drop on the Sneasler. That's sure.
Aí eu falei pra tu, eu perguntei se você tava indo de Roger pra pegar e tenta fazer. Você tá com quantos nele? Eu já completei, Alexander, já peguei ele. Dia 31 tava com a abóbora duplicada, não sei se ainda tá. Eu acho que não, né? Tem que ver aí direito. Ó, você tem mais 8 dias, Alexander, pra pegar esse bicho. Vai numa run pública com bastante gente, porque eu fui fazer umas runs solo, ele não via de jeito nenhum. Vou fazer a primeira run pública que eu fiz, ele apareceu. Vai entender.
And with that, for Rillaboom, you've got the fake out pressure. Now you've got a choice. You could go for fake out into Incineroar because you are going to be faster here, and then you just need to connect your Heatwave. But that's not consistent, so that is something to consider. You could go for the fake out into the Sneasler as the safest way, but then on that turn you could just trade fake outs and then lose that fake out pressure.
Yes.
So it depends. Like, Heatwave has the potential to sweep through this entire team now, but it does need to be able to connect. So do you take this slight risk to be able to definitely go for the Heatwave this turn?
Eu não gosto do Roger. Cara, a parada, o Alexander, não é nem questão de gostar do Roger, cara. É que como ele pega 2% a cada... Ele pega 2% a cada cápsula que ele pega. E assim, ele pega 2%, né? Aí facilitaria muito pra você, entendeu? Porque você pega, só são 2 cápsulas por andar do Gold, né? Do Gold são só 2. Deixa eu ver aqui rapidinho o negócio. Tá. São 2, ou seja, se você tá com qualquer outro tool que não seja o Roger, você só vai conseguir 2%. Enquanto com o Roger você vai conseguir 4%, mas você deve conseguir 6%, eu acho, porque se o Gold te ver de Roger, aumenta 2% também na pesquisa. Ou seja, enquanto você tem 3% com os normais, você tem 6% com o Roger. basicamente. Pegando as duas cápsulas e você sendo visto por ele. Na hora que você finalizar lá as máquinas e correr pro elevador, você tem que ser visto por ele para pegar também. Eu vou jogar daqui a pouco. Boa run pra tu. Deixa eu ver quanto tempo de live já. Ah, é. Eu esqueci que eu resetei essa porcaria desse negócio resetou. Vou fazer esse esforço. Que esforço? De Roger? Cara, é muito lucrativo, sinceramente. Cara, pegar pesquisa, quer pegar pesquisa de qualquer turno, vai de Roger, cara. O Roger ajuda muito. O Roger ajuda muito, cara. Ah, mas eu não gosto disso aqui, cara. Às vezes a gente faz coisa que não gosta, né? Tipo, tem gente que não gosta de ir pra escola, mas não vai. Porque precisa, né? E ainda mais que esse evento, Alexander, acaba dia 10 agora, ou seja, tem 8 dias para pegar 100% do gold. E é um bicho que não tá vindo toda hora como o Twisted, lá nas placas. Então assim, ó, pra tu ter noção, só no andar 20 que ele é garantido. Ou seja, no 19, entre o 5, do 5 ao 19, ele tem uma pequeníssima chance de vir. Você pode ser tanto um sortudo quanto muito azarado. Entendeu? Basicamente isso. You go for Terror Blast, and that's a KO into Sneasler 100% of the time. You go for Knockoff into the Rillaboom, that's going to be a KO 100% of the time. So it seems like we're going to the final turn here, because that Sneasler did go for a Protect, so it looks like the Terror Blast will go into the Sneasler and knock KO because of that Protect. The Knockoff will go into that Rillaboom, and then que ele veio 2 vezes seguido pra mim. Então, pro pessoal lá no... pessoal que eu jogo... pessoal que eu jogo já veio, teve uma vez que veio 3 vezes pra eles antes de andar 17. Então, é o que eu falei, do 5 até o 19 ele tem uma pequena chance de vir. Não significa que ele não venha, mas também não significa que ele venha. Agora, no andar 20 é garantido 100% que ele vem, por causa desse evento, entendeu?
Quickly here, and only 2 Pokemon stand between Tier Team Masu and being able to be in our finalists.
Is this possible to win on time if you're trying the consistent option of Terror Blast into Ursaluna? Because you could go for close combat KO into Incineroar.
Yeah, right.
So is it possible with maybe a double or maybe necessarily a triple Protect that one could actually win this on time? Like, you want the consistency of Terror Blast is 100% accurate, and I can just do this. If T-Team had 10 more minutes, game over for sure at this point, unless there was, I think even with the critical acrobatics, it wouldn't the Volcarona. So T-Team should have this, but the fact that we're so low on time now, that might come into play here. But the Sneasler actually went for Protect on this turn.
Okay, so Protect on the Sneasler, that's not going down.
Cara, tem que levar essa Volcarona.
Terror Blast into the Sneasler. If this Ursaluna is picking up the KO onto the Incineroar this turn, we have a taunt. This Ursaluna cannot protect. 2 minutes left
2 minutos.
of this game. Now the Incineroar goes down to the 1.
Is this possible?
It is possible, but I think the Sneasler is going to have to go for a bit of damage here, because now that the Ursaluna has been taunted, the KO on that slot is almost guaranteed. If the Sneasler does not go for damage, if one does not get any damage onto this Volcarona, which is, I mean, it's not going to do much, but it could do something to shift a battle in your favor. But then, what if you just get the Sneasler knocked out this turn? What if this is the turn that Heatwave comes out from Tier Team Masu? This is so close. The Heatwave has been locked in here.
It seems so. Wow. Are you going to be able to?
Mano, esse jogo tá tão estudado.
So close, and one is still.
Esse jogo tá tão estudado que, meu Deus do céu. Tá tão estudado que o tempo tá. Nossa, GG 2-0.
He's done it. He's
Poxa,
broken
que
through our
bosta, cara.
undefeated player and has reached his first ever final at a major tournament. What a game to conclude here in this semi-final. You can see, T-Team, like, he had it. He had it most of the time. It was just not right
explicar
the
o
time.
draft como ele
If he
funciona.
clicks
Oxi.
E-Wave at any point and double connects in those, like, last 6 turns or whatever, he wins. But Heatwave is not consistent. He was trying as much as he possibly could to get that consistent way. The Terra Blast would KO every single Pokemon, but it kills one Pokemon. Heatwave would KO both. And even after all those 5 turns, he had to click Heatwave because of the time. If he had extra time, he could have 100% won the game. But of course, the Heatwave did double connect and did clutch it for him. The Volcarona, the team be relying on so much this tournament, came through and has reached the final for him.
Third time the charm. Getting into top 4 for the third time. Third tournament. Now he's been able to overcome it. Will be our first finalist here in Gdansk. And looking back over this match, looking back over the matches that we've seen Tier Team on stream, how important has that Volcarona been to his success? How important has that been for Volcarona to carve out a path to victory? Doesn't matter how slow that path is. Doesn't matter if there's 1 more minute left of the match.
Doesn't matter if you sacrifice your entire Ursa Luna to get that switch to the Volcarona.
Yeah, because if the Ursa Luna didn't
Podia
go down
chamar o
and get that
pessoal
position
pra
of
fazer um
Volcarona
tipo de
next
liga
to
de
the
ouro,
Rillaboom,
esse é um chat de
then
Nindras.
Volcarona wouldn't have been able to get
Ah, é?
18 quiver dances and be able to win the game.
E a gente vai jogar como isso, mano?
And after that
Chat,
match, I
bebam
can.
água, não esqueça de se hidratar.
He might have even clicked close to closing in on that across his... how many quiver dances do you reckon he's clicked in this tournament run? It might be closing in on 100, do you reckon?
It's-
That's the Pokemon he's focusing on,
Jamie,
right?
I can't count that high. Lots. Lots is the answer.
Lotsable. It was lotsable of
It was
quiver dances.
lotsable quiver dances, yes, absolutely. Even though the Incineroar was fake-outable through the entire
Eu
tournament.
tô sem controle pro meu
Quiver dance, too
Switch.
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
Não tem Scarlet nem Violet. E boa parte do chat aqui também não tem, então... Assim, não tem muito como a gente jogar, né?
So that was really, really nicely done from that Volcarona, and obviously the star of the show.
Especially since, as well, we saw Terra Fairy Volcarona in previous regulation set H in the metagame recently, but I feel like it's that trade away from Diaclaw that we see on the Sneaslers that allows Terra Fairy Volcarona to actually really shine. Acrobatics just doesn't have the same punch that Diaclaw does when a Volcarona goes for his Terra Fairy.
Yeah, very, very nicely done, and has allowed Tier Team to reach his first ever final. Wow. What
We're going to have to go and sit down after this.
Well, is it going to be Simone, or is it going to be Michal that's going to be facing down Tier Team in that final? We'll have to wait and see, because I to be honest, I think that we're kind of done here, and we need to cut to a very short break to get back into that other semi-final to see who's going to be joining Tier Team. Is it going to be Simone or Michal? Stay tuned to find out.
Showdown é navegador, então será bem acessível. Tem que ver primeiro se o pessoal vai querer e tal, entendeu? As batalhas serão no showdown. Como funciona. Cada ponto vale pontos. Quanto mais pontos for, ponto ele vale. E você vai ter no máximo 100 pontos para gastar em pontos.
I had always played Pokemon as a kid. I played like almost every game in every generation, even the new games I get. So when Pokemon Unite came out, I instantly fell in love with it.
I kind of just started playing a bunch of grassroots tourneys. People were kind of like, yo, you're good at this game. Maybe you should, try to get on a better team. Overlord and Slash Gun. Those were like my first real close friends in this game. I eventually met my former teammates Curious and Slash before the first UCSU started.
Olha, Marlon, sinceramente, eu não consigo pensar em nada agora do futuro, beleza? Eu estou um bagaço completo aqui. Estou com muito sono, não sei nem como é que eu tô falando. E tô em live aqui, sinceramente. Entendeu? Então, assim... Não me pergunte nem me faça proposta De nada. De nada. Fala. De nada de qualquer coisa pelas próximas boas horas aí. Tá falando pela voz de todas as coisas? Como assim? Não entendi o que você quis dizer.
One of the toughest things, like going to Hawaii and then also seeing, you know, one of my closest friends, Overlord, have an unfortunate loss. It kind of like really made me want to get a win with him on my team and be able to, you know, see him like lift up the trophy again.
What keeps me coming back is just these feelings of being able to play on stage in front of a crowd, being able to play and perform in like the big moments when it really matters. It's definitely a special feeling. This season, there's a lot more to play for. So our strategy going to the finals was to find any holes in the opponent's draft.
They had to play off their comfort Pokemon.
We are very flexible. We're able to pull out any Pokemon and have good mastery over them, and we're able to kind of, you know, have a good draft.
No matter what.
In game one, being able to win on the first pick side was really good. We felt really excited because that was a big win.
We had a very strong plan for game two. We drafted a comp that was very good at just ripping the Rayquaza in like 2 seconds. They look for the rip
Tá me chamando de Samar?
Oh man, just ripping the cloth off the dinner table. I really love the crowd, you know. Even if it was, you know, against us, it fills the room with energy. The players are playing better.
Mo não gostou do jeito que você falou.
It was a big win for the team. Definitely very emotional.
A lot going through my head, but I think it's like I'm gonna have to kind of breathe and take it in. I didn't have like the most faith in myself coming back into this tournament, being able to, I think, put on a strong performance for myself. Really confident in this tournament.
There's definitely a bunch of relief because I think there was a lot of pressure on our team in particular to perform because it was kind of like a redemption year.
Ah, outra coisa, Marlon, confirmou, tá? Confirmaram oficialmente. O regulation vai ser o F agora.
And then being able to show that our team produces the best Pokemon Unite and nobody else can.
Going off the previous World Champions panel will definitely be a tough challenge, and I think that's where we'll see if we've got what it takes to win Worlds.
Your LAIC champions! Yeah, I think we have what it takes.
Deixa eu ver aqui qual é o próximo regional que tem.
Hey Pokemon trainers, we've had one top 4 match, but there's still
Tem
one
vagas
more
ainda.
to go to find out who our next finalists will be, battling it out in grand finals later on to become our champion.
One more top 4 match to go, and it's no one else than our local hero from Poland playing as well. I had the privilege to interview him twice this weekend.
I love that twice. That consistency.
Oh, excuse me. 3 times.
3 times.
3 times.
Wow.
And they've mentioned how they beat all 4 top 4 finishes from last year in this tournament alone to overcome their own best finish last year, the top 8 finish. Now in top 4, but not done yet.
I mean, that's making a statement, right? If you're able to go through and beat the best of the best, then you definitely have the potential to go all the way and become the champion at the end of the day. But we still have another top 4 match before we'll find out our finalists and who that champion will be.
Yeah, let's have a look at the bracket to remind everyone who made it to the top cut section and who won those battles on stream so far. So currently, in our first top 4 game, we just saw Tio Team take it 2-0 against Juan Salerno, who was undefeated until this game.
Oh, honestly, my heart broke for Juan in that match. You could see how Tia Team was completely in control with that Volcarona that he has played so incredibly well with this entire tournament. Juan, however, what an incredible run through here, just falling short at top 4. So Tia Team will be waiting in the wings to find out who in our next match out of Simone and Mihal is going to be joining him in finals.
I mean, who thought that all you need is 4 equivalences and then you'll be set up to take the game, even though like taking a nap in between those setup moves and then take the victory. Volcarona, one of your caster picks, definitely the hero of your team's weekend so far. But the next top 4 game, Simone Sanvido, an international champion in his own rights, is playing against the local hero out of Gdansk, actually, Mihal.
I love that storyline coming full circle in a way. Simone, a trainer with so many years of experience, as you mentioned, EUIC champion back in 2018, and he won that very international tournament with Alola Ninetales back in that format. And now, again, Alola Ninetales by his side, he could be unstoppable.
I like how you set up Alola Ninetales as one of his favorites, helped him to win the IC, and then we saw him in top 8, and the Ninetales actually made the difference and helped him secure that victory.
Yes, and his opponent is going to be Michał. And in case you've missed some of this tournament, maybe you're just tuning in from somewhere else around the globe, we can take a closer look at Michał's profile and see the accomplishments and the team, so you can get a little bit excited ahead of our next match.
Yeah, not only his accomplishments, but also what his schedule so far in this tournament looked like, and which maybe, like, let's start with the accomplishments so far.
Yes. Frankfurt Regional top 16 in this season already, an incredible finish as well. In the previous season, a lot of top finishes. Gdansk top 8 already has beaten that record by being in top 4 here in the 2026 season.
And a reminder for everyone, he just recently graduated to the Masters division.
True.
And in these 2 years, he managed a top 8 result last in Gdansk. That was his first Masters Regionals. Top 16 finish in Frankfurt. And now he's back here in Gdansk with a top 4 finish.
I mean, that's incredible consistency, and I love seeing these stories of trainers who have battled it out in the seniors division. A very different metagame sometimes, a very different dynamic out there on in the competitive sphere, but being able to bring that expertise and level up into Masters and battle against all of these other competitors is just such a tremendous achievement, and with an interesting team, no less.
Yes, not only that, but like so young and so early in their career with these high finishes, there's so much more for them to play out and get some tournament wins in. Like, if you get those high finishes so early on, you have so many more years to develop as a player, as a person, as a team builder, and then take teams even further in future tournaments.
And I really like the composition of that team. I love, in particular, that King Gambit, because I was asking a little bit yesterday, where's King Gambit? In NA, it was still, you know, scattered around in their metagame, but in Europe, it seemed to have really fallen off, and Michał really showing that actually it still has a place and a role to play.
That King Gambit survived with 1 HP in his last set against Federico. Yeah, against that Earthquake from the Gdansk Polônia, I think it was like a 1 in 16 chance to survive, and that secured him in help with some Diaclaw shenanigans to secure the win against the Charizard team.
Well, that was something he spoke about in his interview with you about Diaclaw Sneasler in our meta at the moment, because a lot of trainers have dropped that Diaclaw. They're running a different set, but instead he's trusting in it to maybe shake some things into the match that are outside of his opponent's control.
And it was so emotional to see how he took the top 8 win in. He was like,
yes.
Took the moment in for a second, looked into the crowd, saw his family, his friends supporting as well, and just be like, I've done it. 1 medal in, let's make sure it's the gold one.
And I think in that moment as well, knowing that you finished top 8 in the previous Gdansk Regional Championships, knowing you're now in top 4, you're 1 step closer, you're 1 step further. And now for these trainers, it is just 1 more set that determines whether they are a top 4 or a runner-up or potentially a champion. But they've got to get to those finals first.
And of course, there's so many championship points on the line as well. With this early on in the season, with the top 16 finish in Frankfurt, now at least a top 4 finish, like, you have positioned yourself really well to also get that invite for Worlds.
And you know, we've spoken a lot about Michał's accomplishments here and how top 8 last year, but the previous year, as you said, Barish, he was in the senior division. Guess what position he finished then? He won. He won the whole thing. So he knows what it takes to be able to take this very championship in a different division, now already on a great track to try and take it in Masters.
But now, playing against an IC champion in Simone Sanvido. Sending more kisses into the crowd, having his Il Serva shirt on, having the support from the Italian crowd. I think Italy was actually the most represented region here at this regional in Gdansk as well.
I think in our top cut as well, they had over half the competitors. I believe 8 Italians made it through, and they always have been a formidable team building force. And what I really like to see is the variety in which teams they decide to bring to the tournament, and Simone bringing this very interesting team with the Alola Ninetales. But Michał on the other side also has Alola Ninetales, has Pokemon like the Magmar and the King Gambit to make things a little bit different.
Yeah. Michał was telling me how, like, the Burning Jealousy has helped him really throughout this tournament. If your opponent sets up any any boosting moves and you get the Burning Jealousy and onto that turn, you immediately burn them, and that can be really helpful. For example, against the Sneasler, they can't easily like Sword Stance against you, and even the grassy seed activation will also cause it to burn.
You've got to be so self-aware of all those different interactions, and with accolades like this, you know that both of our trainers have that capability. Michał, as we've already discussed, has the Gdansk regional top 8 previously, as well as a host of other accomplishments in the recent seasons. He's been in the Masters divisions, whereas Simone Sanvito, European international champion, as well as a Lille and Rome regional champion in previous seasons.
We have seen quite a few like Scarf Basket Legends on stream so far, but this one in particular is Terra Fighting, Terra Blast. And we have seen how that had really helped against an Indy earlier on stream today. But also, you're weak to dark type attacks usually. For example, a knockoff. If you go for Terra Fighting, not only can you hit dark types for super effective damage, but you're also resisting their moves in return. Very
true, and I also like this Alola Ninetales set. We've discussed this Pokemon a lot, but this is one that is running that Moonblast, so it still has the utility to go for a Fairy type, same type attack bonus move, and that does give you a lot of coverage into possibly the fighting types that are out there, or even into something that could be carrying that dark typing.
Yeah, and in most teams it has a very supportive role, but here it carries the Life Orb to further boost the damage output of Blizzard and Moonblast. But there's still this tech of Encore that can help you, especially against setup Pokemon or maybe fake out users, to lock them into Encore, especially in end games, and then secure the win.
And of course, of supportive Pokemon, you have that Magmar that was so critical in his top 8 match to be able to get around Federico's Torkoal in that end game of Game 1. It can provide a lot of support, but that Burning Jealousy, as you mentioned, can also have some critical interactions in the game.
Yeah, there's the fist bump, there's the exchange of the team sheets, and players are rushing or going into that team tree right now, making sure, yes, teams were already out there. You already had a chance to look at those teams, but now with being locked in, focused into the game, that gives you a different perspective on the opposing team.
I want to take a look at Simone Sanvito's Ursaluna here as well. This is the combination that we've seen quite a lot, being able to go for those yawns, slowing down the pace of play, maybe forcing your opponent to switch out. And that's something that if you are Michał, you're going to want to make sure that you can work around, that you maybe have a way to shut down that Ursaluna using Taunt on your Magmar, for example.
Yeah, the taunt we saw earlier from the taunt Incineroar, how that came in clutch against opposing yawn setup Pokemon. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm really interested. Mirror of Basket Legions, he is the other Choice Scarf variant, but it is using Flip Turn, Aqua Jet, and Wave Crash together with the Last Respects. Typically one for the late game. It can come in as the lead, Flip Turn out, and then eventually get the Last Respect or the strong Wave Crash.
I think if you're Simone as well, you've got to watch out for the potential sucker punches coming through from that King Gambit. If Michał is able to get that set up with a Sword Stance as well, they can be destructive.
For sure, maybe with the help of Burning Jealousy you can overcome that. But, of course, sorry, Burning Jealousy is on the Magmar and won't help you against the King Gambit. But here are the leads.
Yep, top 4, the second one here at the Gdansk Regional Championships, and we've got some interesting leads. Volcarona and Basket Legion out there for Simone, whereas the Sneasler and King Gambit for Michał.
Sneasler with the Focus Sash, not only is it running Dire Claw, but, or maybe because it is running Dire Claw, it doesn't need the Grassy Seed, and no time wasted, straight into action here, no Flame Body activation. Wave Crash is going to cause a lot of damage into King Gambit.
Yes, there's a huge chunk into that King Gambit. Does take a little bit of recoil for its troubles. Volcarona, having taken that fake out, is going to be unable to move, and King Gambit able to follow ahead with the Caltan Cleave into that Ghost-type Basket Legion and is able to get the KO.
That was such a swift turn. Both players had a good idea what they want to do against these leads. Fake out, no Flame Body activation, Wave Crash, and Counter Cleave in return to take the first knockout. Simone, this early on, down to 3 Pokemon.
I think as well this trade, though, it does enable the opportunity to bring in that Rillaboom from the back freely. You can set that grassy terrain, have the natural synergy with that Volcarona, and activate that grassy seed. That's going to give you that defense boost in the face of these Pokemon.
Yeah, but now the Dire Claw, not only for Dire Claw shenanigans, but also it's super effective against the Rillaboom, and has options to play into the Volcarona, because the Poison, for example, goes a very long way against a Pokemon that wants to stay on the field for so long.
Yes, you have to contend with the fact that this is the Dire Claw Sneasler. That is something that the Rillaboom does have to worry about, as well as that Fairy Terrestrialization potentially on the Volcarona. An adaptation on Michal's side, though, we're going to see the Basket Legion join as the Sneasler just plays defensively, goes for a Wise Protect while Rillaboom is on the field, and it does have that fake out. So a fantastic opportunity for Michał to keep that Focus Sash intact for later on in the game. Volcarona, however, capitalizes on this passive turn on Michal's side and goes for that Quiver Dance.
First Quiver Dance down into the game, and it looks like Volcarona is trying to set up, making sure it outspeeds the opposing Pokemon. Because there's no unburdened boost on the Sneasler, you have a chance to outspeed it faster and might not need 3 or 4 Quiver Dances in this game.
I mean, this is dangerous, right? We've seen Simone go for this Volcarona before. You get it set up. You have that additional offensive capability with a heat wave, and Michał has to find a way around that.
I mean, we saw Grassy Glide dealing a lot of damage to Basque Legion and can actually take it out. So it's gonna be interesting to see if there's any Terra in play here, and we see a terrestrialization. I think there was a combination of Dire Claw and Wave Crash or Flip Turn into the Rillaboom, but that won't come into effect because there's a Terra Parry Volcarona on the field now.
Well, let's see how this Volcarona is going to navigate through this match. It's gone for his terrestrialization. Rillaboom is able to break that Focus Sash on the Sneasler thanks to the priority Grassy Glide. And Volcarona with the speed boost was able to get from the Quiver Dance can follow up with this Terra Blast going straight down into that Sneasler, and that is a knockout.
It's a knockout and a half, and Sneasler is off the field. It would have been really nice with the poison type Dire Claw into both Rillaboom and now a Fairy type Volcarona. Flip Turn not doing a lot of damage, but allows it to reposition. Potentially, once there's a few more knockouts taken, Last Respect is going to cause a lot of problems for these Pokemon. But now, once again, Terra, Fairy, Volcarona seems to be really well positioned into this whole team.
I think it's critical to note as well that Basque Legion is Choice Scarf, so it does have that additional boost to its speed, but the Volcarona was still able to outspeed it. So even when it comes back onto the field later on, it has to be aware of that speed interaction.
Yeah, Basque Legion unfortunately naturally not as fast, so you need the Choice Scarf to outspeed most of the Pokemon, but if they also get a boost, it's really difficult to still outspeed them here. And now we'll see the Grassy Terrain coming into full effect, helping both Rillaboom and Volcarona, and despite taking an early knockout into that Basque Legion on Simone's side, it looks like Simone found a way back into the game, punishing that defensive protect and going for a Quiver Dance, and now in a really commanding position.
Well, I think you made the great observation that because of this particular composition of the Sneasler, it applied a lot of offensive pressure into Simone's team because it has that poison move and it also has that poison touch ability. Pokemon like the Rillaboom and also the Volcarona really didn't want to have to contend with that. So a great identification on Simone's side to eliminate that threat.
Yeah, and Magma comes in great play here. Because of that Follow Me, it's really well positioned into like a Grassy Glide and Terra Fairy Terra Blast here. But he's like, oh, I don't need that. I will go straight for the offensive and double target here. Heat Wave, actually missing a target. It is the Magmar. But thanks to the Water type, Basque Legion takes that quite well. There was no Grassy Glide, critical hit, no burn, and the first Last Respects of the game.
Yep, Last Respects is going to connect down to that Rillaboom, but Rillaboom hangs on. Magma can retaliate with that Burning Jealousy to guarantee the knockout, and Rillaboom will be felled on Simone's side.
Yeah, this is what I meant. You had the pressure of Follow Me, so your opponent didn't think that Grassy Glide would have been the right play in this circumstance, but because Magma is not only so bulky and has a Follow Me option, it's also quite fast. Naturally outspeeds the Rillaboom, and the combination of Last Respects and Burning Jealousy was actually enough. And now Ninetales hits the field, and that's not a great Pokemon into Magma either. So interestingly enough, in his last game, Magma was like the end game sweeper, even though it only has Burning Jealousy, and it's now in a decent spot once again.
I think the Ninetales is going to have a difficult time for sure. It only really has the Blizzard to be able to do any damage into either of these Pokemon. One's a Fire type, one's a Water type. That's not really good odds against that Ninetales.
Yeah, but Disable could come really clutch here. I think it is running Disable, correct? And you can disable the Burning Jealousy if they go for Protect. You have the Encore pressure in the next turn. They go for Follow Me, you disable Follow Me. So that Disable Encore might come into play here a lot. There's a switch into the Kingambit, which wouldn't want to take in a Heat Wave, but that might have not been the play with two Fire and Water types on the field. But there it is!
Oh, I mean, I was going to say, this puts a lot of pressure on the Volcarona to be able to get the damage on the board, as Alola Ninetales really can't pull through in that regard, and it needs to be able to hit those Heat Waves. At least it found its mark on the Kingambit. That's, I think, the Pokemon you really wanted to connect with, as Ninetales can still deal with this Magmar and neutralize it in its own way with that Disable.
We have now seen why Disable is so strong. It prevented the Burning Jealousy in this game, and there was really no way to play around that. You kind of wanted to like proc the Focus Sash, or at least like get the Focus Sash out of play here, because then Basque Legion comes in and a Last Respect would have taken the KO. Sacrificing Kingambit might not be the worst play, because Last Respect now is more powerful as well.
Yes, Last Respects get more and more powerful the more Pokemon are KO'd there, and Basque Legion coming in at the end can apply that pressure. Follow Me is going to try and draw in all of those attacks though, so that Basque Legion has its moment to shine, but the spread attack Heat Wave is going to be able to bypass this. It finally finds its mark on the Magmar, but critically on Basque Legion, gets that burn, reducing the physical offensive pressure it has. The Last Respects will come through, but thanks to that burn, it is doing minimal damage into Volcarona. Ninetales can follow up with the Blizzard. It's not going to get the KO, but the burn, thanks to that Volcarona, will be able to knock out the Basque Legion.
Yeah, the burn was so crucial here, because Volcarona would have been down in the reds, potentially with a crit being taken out, but the crit instead came onto the Basque Legion. Brings it down.
Terrain, though.
Grassy Terrain, and burn brings it down to 2 HP. and in Heatwave connects here, will take out the Basque Legion, and it's once again down to only Magmar, and I'm not seeing Magmar taking this game, especially with the threat of disabling the Burning Jealousy.
Exactly, Magmar's really shut down at the moment, and Volcarona just taking his time, going for the protect, and now that grassy terrain has left the field as well, the burn will eventually, as a tick on that Basque Legion, be able to finally get that KO.
Yeah, very safe, just double protect here. Great analysis. The burn will just take care of that Basque Legion, so no reason not to double protect, and then it's going to be Magmar left. So, once again, really well played from Simona, positioning themselves with the Terra Fairy Volcarona. Such a great call into this meta game, and has performed really well in this first game.
And I have to say, I love the way that both the Volcarona and the Alola Ninetales, two heroes of his team throughout this tournament so far, have showcased in this top 4 Game 1 match why they have carried him this far in the tournament.
Yeah, and now Magmar really, it's really difficult. You can't really attack, you only have supporting moves. You can be encored into one of those as well, and then it's only a matter of time until Volcarona will take you down. Can even go for the non-effective Terra Blast because Magmar has no offensive threat here. But we talked about this. Game 1 didn't look great for Michael, but he takes all the time he has to just think through like what went wrong in this first game. How can I improve? How can I adapt going into the next game?
And as you were mentioning earlier, sometimes at the end of game 1, when you know the game is lost, you still have some precious seconds to start thinking about game 2, because yes, you lost game 1, but you haven't lost the set yet. So you still have the opportunity to use your information and readapt and change up the end game situation.
We have seen so many games, so many matches going into a 3-game thriller set, and both players, even those who lost the first game, still managed to come back and win 2 more sets to clinch the victory in this set. And that's why we'll see if Simone's experience, he won his first regionals in 2016. At this point, 9 years ago. He won another regional just last year, right? But this years and years of experience in the Masters category specifically might be the difference here against his opponent.
That's very true. Something that Simone can bank on is that wisdom, is that experience. Let's think about game 2. One thing on Mihal's side that I felt was a little underwhelming was that King Gambit. Do you feel like it's a good choice coming into Simone's team, or would you maybe make an adaptation?
I mean, it prevents Incineroar from easily switching in and gives Basque Legion like one better way to deal with Incineroar, but like the Rillaboom was really effective. Magmar didn't help too much in the long term. It's difficult, like how do you prevent that Volcarona from sweeping through your team? I liked the Sneasler in the lead as an option, but once they had one Quiver Dance up, the combination of Grassy Glide, breaking the sash, and then a Terra Blast was just enough to take it out. So you need to preserve and get more value out of your Sneasler.
I think that's a great observation and something to watch out for. When that Volcarona sets up, that spells danger for your opponent. We're not going to see Volcarona in the leads, however. We are going to see King Gambit paired up with a Sneasler from Mihal. But on Simone's side, Rillaboom and Ursaluna.
This is what I really like about these team compositions. You can vary up your leads. Even if you win with a commanding Volcarona game, you can just catch your opponent off guard. If they focus too much into Volcarona, you can be like, well, let me start defensively with a fake out yawn potential here. So there's like a lot of play, a lot of flexibility, and if your opponent like focuses too much onto one specific lead, you can mix it up.
Well, in the face of a fake out, we're going to see the protect coming through on that King Gambit. Sneasler, however, just goes straight for the close combat into Ursaluna, puts it right down into the red, leaves it incredibly vulnerable for the next couple of turns. It is going to lower its defenses, but it does have that focus sash in its back pocket, so the high horsepower, reducing it down to 1 HP, is going to be able to keep it in the game. However, Ursaluna in a position where it can follow up. Oh, it goes for into that King Gambit protect. I was wondering if maybe Sneasler would be felled in the opening turn.
Yeah, Sneasler down to its focus sash, now recovering some HP, but naturally very low in HP. We saw only 9 HP recovered, and it makes me wonder if after one protect going to 19 HP, is that enough to potentially withstand a Grassy Glide coming into that position? Because once your Pokemon are low in HP, that Rillaboom is happily clicking Grassy Glide.
Yes, and I feel like Rillaboom could easily clean up against that Sneasler, but if you're Mihal, you have the opportunity to capitalize on that and think, hey, if I've got a Pokemon like Magmar in the back, my Fire type, my bulky Pokemon, then it can easily come in, eat up that Grassy Glide, and Rillaboom kind of has a null and void turn. I think the Pokemon you got to watch out for is that Ursaluna.
Yeah, Ursaluna could go for the powerful Earth powers that we just saw going into the Protector. It could also go for a more defensive option with a Yawn, but we see a Black Glasses Kowtow Cleave going to that slot, and if that's not protecting, then at least you're trading damage and taking out the Ursaluna.
Yep, the Black Black Glasses boosting up those dark type moves as well as the same type attack bonus King Gambit gets does make it a formidable threat. There's the Grassy Glide that was trying to get the knockout on Sneasler, but instead is going to find its mark into the Magma. Cowtown Cleave, however, will clean up the Ursaluna, so we don't have to worry about any yawns or any blood moons for the rest of this game.
That's quite a speedy King Gambit, actually. Like, depending on how trainers have opted to train both the Ursaluna, more defensive Pokemon, but also the King Gambit, not really known to be a fast Pokemon. Like, it was quite crucial that it outsped, prevented any yawn action, and also the Earth Power. Like, King Gambit's still on full HP.
I mean, this is the formidable threat that's just joined the field. The tail of the tournament so far has been Volcarona and those Quiver Dances.
Yeah, here's the thing. You didn't lead with the Volcarona, but you brought your opponent, you forced them to switch into King Gambit and Magmar. And now Volcarona is well positioned, but we saw the taunt coming into effect, or taunt being on the Magmar set. So if you are, and typically Magmars are quite fast, if you outspeed the Volcarona and taunt it, it at least can start setting up.
That's true. There's no fake out and play on that Rillaboom. And if you are able to get the speed advantage, you can shut down those Quiver Dances. But is that something Simone can read into? Is it an opportunity for Simone to try and capitalize on that? But first of all, Mihal's going to send the Sparkles onto the stage as we see the Terrestrialization on that King Gambit. It is going to turn into a Fire type, give it a little bit of defensive support in the face of this Volcarona that does go for the Quiver Dance. No Taunt being able to get the edge to go into that Pokemon here.
So it seems to be actually faster than the Magmar here in this set. There's a burning Jealousy, but because there was no Terra Fairy, it's not burning the Volcarona. But because it didn't go for the Terra Fairy, it is now susceptible to a very strong Kowtow Cleave going into that slot, causing a lot of damage.
Yes, taking it down into the orange there, definitely putting it into a dangerous spot. The grassy terrain helping to regain a little bit of that HP, but there was a lot to see in that particular turn. The Terrestrialization, a nice defensive play from something like a Heat Wave coming through, but then Rillaboom being able to go for that high horsepower and get some good damage on King Gambit.
Yeah, it was super effective into the Steel-type King Gambit, but also against the Terra Fire King Gambit. So it's just a very solid choice, connecting, causing a lot of damage, and giving Volcarona the option to boost here. So now if Volcarona decides to go for a more offensive approach in the next turn, maybe a higher horsepower and a Heat Wave would be enough to take out the King Gambit, even though it is resisting the Heat Waves. But keep in mind, there's also the play of going for Sucker Punches.
I think as well that Grassy Seed giving the defense boost to the Volcarona does put it in good stead against this King Gambit, because we know with the Black Glasses it can deal a significant amount of damage. One other way to neutralize dark type attacks, however, is to become a Fairy type.
And it was so nice to see that Simone was patient enough to wait one extra turn to Terra, because now if they connect the Heat Wave, and that's what we're seeing, then high horsepower, if it also connects, is going to be enough. The critical on Magma won't decide this turn. There's a burning Jealousy, not causing too much problem into Rillaboom either, and it all comes down to this high horsepower.
Yep, high horsepower connecting on the Magma here, not able to get the KO, but definitely whittling away at Mihal's Pokemon. The Kowtow Cleave going into the Fairy type, not very effective. Volcarona still very much in the driver's seat.
And we see how important, how crucial that Terra Fairy was here. It was resisting the Kowtow Cleave and allowing the Volcarona to stay on the field one extra turn, or like potentially even more turns, especially with the grassy search or grassy terrain recovery here. Rillaboom in a great slot. We saw the Heat Wave crit into Magmar combined with the high horsepower. I think there was a protect into the King Gambit.
Well, Magma going defensive here, just taking a protect. Does not want to have to be KO'd in this particular turn. King Gambit trying desperately to get the Sucker Punch to get the knockout, but it's not to be thanks to that Fairy Terror type. The Heat Wave will not be connecting into Magma this time. No potential to get a critical hit there, but on the King Gambit, still not enough. That Terrestrialization helping out, so Rillaboom has to seal the deal and go for that damage to be able to get the knockout.
And Michal loses his Terra Pokemon, his Terra Fire King Gambit here. Sneasler might come back into the game here while Magmar is still on the field. And we'll see. Volcarona, so low in HP. I feel like if you get any decent move, maybe not the Burning Jealousy because of the boost, any other move I feel like might be enough. Even an Aqua Jet could be enough here to take it out. And since Grassy Terrain is over, you don't have priority on your Grassy Glides anymore. So Basculegion is a little bit safe. It could even go potentially for a flip turn KO there as well, and make sure that it doesn't have to take a Wood Hammer. But of course, you also have the Follow Me support.
Yeah, Follow Me to help redirect those attacks, but I think you're right that the speed that Mihal's able to utilize with something like the Basculegion could be really nice, but we saw in the previous game, I believe at +1, Volcarona does outspeed, so if your Basculegion to get that edge, you might have to go for... it doesn't even have the priority Aqua Jet, so yeah, Flip Turn might be its only choice to reset that board state. Yeah,
Rillaboom is switching out. This might be an indication that Simone is going for a more defensive approach, might protect the Volcarona here, and then get Rillaboom back in eventually with some fake-out support and grassy terrain recovery. That's exactly what we've seen from Simone's end.
Yeah, perfectly called there. The Protect coming through on the Volcarona, keeping it in the game as the adaptation comes through from Simone, switches out that Rillaboom and brings the Ninetales to play. Magmar trying to draw any potential attacks that we know are not coming in this particular turn, and poor Basculegion not able to find its mark with those last respects either.
Also, a really dangerous play here is the disable into a Scarf Pokemon. I mean, it depends on which move it's going for, but we saw the last respect. And if you can sacrifice the Volcarona, but if you take out the Magmar and disable the Basculegion, then that's a big play. But there's a Heat Wave miss.
Misses the Basculegion, no potential chance for a burn here, and Magmar is still going to be able to hold on. Basculegion with that Choice Scarf can go for the last respects. Ninetales in position to go for a disable, but no, instead goes for the Blizzard, manages to get the KO on the Magmar and chip away at this Basculegion.
Yeah, the last respect into Volcarona would have been great, but we see the stash being broken on the Ninetales, and this is going to be a really, really close endgame here. Sneasler hits the field, but it's down to 10 HP. Doesn't have any further recovery. Volcarona, the fastest Pokemon now. First question would be, Terra Blast, is that enough to take out the Basculegion? Is Heatwave connecting to both Pokemon? You have the fake out play, so naturally you would expect Simone to just play it safe and go for a double protect.
That's the thing, you do have the fake out, and you know, Volcarona in the red, it could maybe even get a knockout there, but Volcarona could easily protect like you said. But at the same time, Mihao can read into that and go, okay, I can go with last respects into my Alolan Ninetales, for example.
And this is the position you want to play yourself into. Endgame, you're up one Pokemon, you still have a Rillaboom in the back. Both your opponent's Pokemon in danger here. We see the protect from the Volcarona, very likely another protect from the Ninetales to just outplay that fake out potential.
That's fair. You don't know where the fake out's going to go. You might as well just go for the double protect and just remove that option for Mihao's side, because you can't use fake out after that first turn.
So now you could go for a Heat Wave, but also the Sneasler could just protect. You could fish for a burn, but that's not really what I want to do. So I feel like it really comes down if Terra Blast is enough to take out the Basculegion. If it isn't, then maybe a last respect into the Ninetales and the Dire Claw into Volcarona would be enough to take 2 knockouts and then position yourself really well against the opposing Rillaboom. But also Rillaboom has the priority moves, has the tank ability, so to say, to take hits as well. So maybe 2 Grassy Glades would be enough to go for the endgame. We see the protect, and I think it's going to come down to the Terra Blast option here.
Yep, Sneasler going for the Protect. Volcarona, however, has that option to go for the Terra Blast, but it was going into the Sneasler. Basculegion gets away scot-free here in prime position to go for that last respects, and it finds its mark down on that Ninetales.
Oh, I'm not sure. Like, keeping Volcarona on the field just puts so much more pressure on the team, because now Rillaboom comes back in, has the priority Grassy Glide, Grassy Search, is setting the grassy terrain again. And I think Simone put himself into a really good position for this endgame here, and I would have loved to see Volcarona being taken out. It's still a difficult position afterwards against the Rillaboom, but the speed advantage of Volcarona is just so difficult to play around.
And you now have to contend with the fake out on the field for that Rillaboom with your Sneasler having just protected, so it's not going to be able to safely go for another one. You can see the double protect has indeed failed, but Rillaboom wasn't even going for it. The Grassy Glide into Basculegion is going to clean up, and now all eyes on the star of the show, the Volcarona, to clean up this top 4 game for Simone.
One last attack, and is the Terra Blast. Terra Fairy, Terra Blast taking out the very low Sneasler, and Simone Sanvito is your finalist here in Gdansk.
What a match. Simone advances to our grand finals to face down against Tier Team Masu. What a fantastic finals we have got ahead of us. Commiserations to Mihao, though, the hometown hero, having gone one stage better than his Gdansk regional run last year. But unfortunately for him, Simone Sanvito was just too formidable an opponent.
I mean, he won in 2024 in seniors. The first year in Masters top 8. Now top 4. If we ever come back to Gdansk, I think he's just going to go up from here. Maybe a 2nd place and eventually the champion.
That is what the history books would indicate for sure. So definitely a name to keep a lookout on your radar on the European side of things. But I've got to talk about Simone Sanvito and that Volcarona.
Volcarona has been the hero of the event, and I think we have 2 Volcaronas in finals, 2 Basculegions in finals, very similar teams in finals. So we'll see how that mirror match in finals will actually play out. But congratulations to Simone. Incredible performance. Volcarona in the lead in game 1. Really well positioned, gets an early boost, sweeps the game. Game 2 starts more defensive with the Ursaluna.
Yes.
You could argue like more defensive approach, but then managed to force the opponent into switches that then gave the Volcarona just the option to go for the sweep and the setup.
And I think as well, when you see the Ursaluna on the field, because we know how devastating it can be with something like a Blood Moon, particularly into the more fragile Pokemon like Basculegion or the Sneasler as well, you want to try and get it off the field. And it basically sat there with the target on its back saying, come at me, Mihao, bring all your Pokemon into me so I can enable some setup later on with my Volcarona.
I think, I mean, both you this week and Marcus was talking about last week, if you find the right combination to support your Volcarona, it might be the answer to crack what we had with this meta game at the moment, and it's really well positioned. It has some of the common Pokemon as well, the Incineroar, of course, the Rillaboom and the Blood Moon Ursaluna, but combining the Basculegion and the Volcarona into this team composition seems to be working out really well this weekend.
And you saw that Magmar as well that came into this game too, and I think I really felt for it because you could see what it was going for with this Burning Jealousy, trying to think, okay, if Simone goes for the Terra Fairy on that opposing Volcarona and goes for the Quiver Dance, I can catch it with that Burning Jealousy. But it wasn't to be. Simone held back on that Terrestrialization button and was able to click it in the next turn.
Yeah, the Focus Sash Sneasler, like, it made a great performance so far. In top 8 it was good, the Diaclaw really helped, but here Simone just found an option to just set up one Quiver Dance and then any combination of two moves, breaking the Sash and then the Terra Blast was just enough to take out the Sneasler, and it just couldn't like really help in this matchup. It had the fake out pressure on turn 1, but even when any of the fake out Pokemon came, I think like Mihao was missing any like pressure alongside this fake out, because Simone could just double protect, save him for one turn, and there was no way that Mihao could take any advantage of that.
And I think we saw that in game 1 as well with the Magmar right at the end. It just didn't have the utility to deal a huge amount of damage. The Burning Jealousy, yes, it can hit both the target Pokemon, but it's only a little bit of chip here and there, particularly when you were up against Pokemon like Incineroar, Pokemon like Volcarona. It just made it so difficult for Magmar to get any momentum going on the board.
And we have seen quite a few Ninetales on stream. We have seen quite a few different sets on stream as well. The Disable Encore combination specifically was really interesting, and in this matchup it played such a crucial role, because in the end game of game 1 we just saw how disabling the Burning Jealousy essentially guaranteed the win.
Now, we only have one more match here at the Gdansk Regional Championships, but maybe you've been tuning in and thinking, hey, I want to come to a regional, I want to get in on the action here. Well, you can sign up through RK9, and that is where you will find all of the Pokemon information, whether you want to come and try your hand at competitive battling, or maybe you want to come to a real-life event and just spectate and see some of the action. You can get a proper adrenaline rush from doing that too.
I mean, we already talked about the outline of the season and all the events that are coming up, and if you stay tuned after our winning ceremony, we'll probably go through the schedule again. And you can check out which events at those dates, make sure which cities to visit all over Europe. We have quite a few destinations yet to come up. And if you like we were talking about this earlier, even if you don't compete, there's so many great activities at these events as well.
Yes, there's something for every Pokemon fan at these events, and we're still only starting out in the 2026 season. There's still so much more action to come, and you indeed could be a part of it. However, we've got a finals to get ready for, so we're just going to have a really quick break and then be right back to bring you our grand finals.
This could be the day he cements himself in Pokemon history!
This is his moment.
I'm Giovanni Siskian. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Imagine if you have stuck to your guns and you're going to win the World Championships as your first major title.
There's so much pressure on the line here.
It's absolutely surreal. I mean, I feel like everything and nothing at the same time. It's just amazing. My Pokemon type would be Dragon because of Koraidon. It was very instrumental to my victory.
Another one-hit knockout for Gio.
My favorite starter is Piplup because my brother, for his 8th birthday, received Pokemon Platinum, and so every time now I pick the water starter because of him.
What makes Gio's team so threatening is the options feel endless.
I first got into competitive Pokemon through the 2014 US National Championships, the finals between Alex Ogloza and Adib Alam. That best of 3 really motivated me to get into competing, and in 2018 I went to my first regional, and from there, I mean, you know the rest.
As coming in as a trainer that hasn't had a major win yet, imagine if this is the one.
I've never really considered quitting. I've been through some disappointing tournaments, but with the support of my friends, they've always encouraged me to keep on pushing, and they've always believed in me since day one, and I'm glad that I could repay them in this way. I was more so worried about strong players than strong Pokemon into my team, because everyone's strong at the World Championships, and no matter the team you play, you're going to have to give it your best and prove that you deserve to win every single round. I would say my most difficult match was the Grand Finals, actually. It was a very stressful team to prepare against because there were so many options that both myself and my opponent had, and so many different ways it could play out. It's an extremely stressful, high-stakes match. All eyes are on you, so you have to go out there and do your best. At the World Championships, I plan to use Koraidon and Lunala together to utilize both a very offensive, threatening strategy with fighting type attacks and ghost type attacks, combined with Choice Scarf Chiyu that can both abuse the sunlight with set by Koraidon, and provide Beads of Ruin to combine with Lunala for devastating attacks. The MVP was certainly Koraidon. It was incredible in all my matches. I believe that I brought it to every single match at the World Championships, and it was consistently my best Pokemon throughout the tournament. The deciding moment was when my Terrastellar Shadow Ball and Beads of Ruin, combined with Sun Boosted Heat Wave, was able to claim the knockout on the Koraidon, and my opponent was not able to come back from that because the Incineroar had also been knocked out on the same turn, and it was just a Caloric Shadow against my Fluttermane Chiyu and my Koraidon, and my opponent had no way back into the match from there. My favorite moment was lifting the trophy, of course. I mean, there's no other feeling like it. Words can't really describe that kind of moment, and I'm glad to be part of the game's history forever.
It's time, trainers. Get ready for the grand finals here at the Gdansk Regional Championships. We have battled it out across 2 days of competition, and now we are down to just Tia Team or Simone. One of them will be our champion. I am Luat Josh Cromie, and I'm joined by Barashak Josh to take you through this grand finals.
Grand finals time it is. 400 players, over 400 players competed this weekend. We already crowned a champion in the juniors division, a champion in the seniors division. We've played 8 rounds through phase 1, 3 more rounds in phase 2. Asymmetric top cut all the way through, and now we're here in finals in Gdansk, Simone against her team.
I think that's the awesome thing about this phase 2, day 2 situation, where they are just knocking players out throughout this top cut, and now we're down to just our last 2 remaining. So in case you're just joining us, we do have our bracket, and we can have a little recap of how our top cut has gone down here on Sunday in Gdansk.
There was a big Italian participation in top cut, 8 out of 14. Simone, still the last standing Italian player in finals, and on the other side, Tio team. With the Volcarona. I mean, we'll talk about the teams in a second. Both these players have shown why Volcarona is such a great pick in the current metagame.
I mean, Volcarona was definitely a wise choice coming into this tournament. But if you take a look as well through this top 8, some of the matches that they've had to contend with, Juan Salerno was a trainer who was completely undefeated until this top 4 match. And for Tia Team to be able to take it in a 2-0 set as well just shows the confidence and the caliber of player he is to be able to get into our grand finals. Simone as well, able to battle it out against some really creative Pokemon team builders like Lucas, who had that Blaziken, who had that Primarina. Great to be able to see Simone's success here as well.
Yeah, and then Federico, of course, changing up teams, going for the Sun composition to finish top 8 after winning the event last year as well. So great representation all around the world here at this event. Lewis from Germany falling short in a very close, nail-biting 3-game set against Teo team as well. Great variety of teams, but in finals, it's all about Volcarona and Basque Legion.
And I know I speak on our behalf and also on Jamie and Ben's side as well that this top cut has been electrifying. As commentators, we've been on the edge of our seat looking at every single moment, jumping up and down, feeling the heartbreak, and that adrenaline has been taking our 2 finalists right to this point. And I know that our grand finals will be an absolute spectacular showcase.
I mean, Teo team had such a strong season last year.
Yeah.
Such a breakout performance, right? Top cutting at EYC, top cutting at Regions as well, but now taking it all the way into finals, such a great accomplishment and definitely a player to look out for the rest of the season.
And we can have a look at how Tia Team's tournament has gone as well. So if we take a look at the player run right back in Swiss round 1, was able to get a victory against some really interesting teams as well. We've got Annihilate there in that round 1. Then we've also got that team with the Ndidi in round 3.
As well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and the Espatra.
Side spam combination that we don't see too often here. Also, the only loss in phase 1. There was a 7-1 record qualifying for the next phase. Really interesting teams. We see Como, we see some rain action as well. The Sinistra is there. But yeah, like looks like overcome most of these teams, only falling short to Lukas Giebel from Germany.
I'm trying to see if any of these teams kind of match the 6 Pokemon that we know Simone is running, which also happen to be the same 6 Pokemon Tia team is running. I'm wondering if there's any advantage there, but at the same time, if this is the team you are running, surely you know its strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, and it's really going to come down who is positioning better, who potentially trained their Pokemon in a way where in this mirror game will really come down. Looking at these top 8 sets, or at least phase 2 and then into the top cut rounds. So we see starting the day with a loss against Lewis, but then bringing it back and actually getting the revenge in top 8 against Lewis.
That's so true, actually. The momentum just rose and rose and rose throughout the rest of this top cut. And critically looking at the team, you know, looking at the battles that have been done here, Pokemon like Goldengo, Pokemon like Sneasler, these are up really high on our usage stats. And that's reflected in the opponents that Tia Team has had to battle against. This team has been able to go through such high-level competitors. I think as a team, it's one to watch not only in this tournament, obviously, but in future tournaments in this regulation as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have the composition looking at Davide and Luis here. The composition of Incineroar, Goldengo, the Sneasler, Alola Ninetales, Blood Musalota, and Rillaboom. Like, there was also a mirror match at the Milwaukee Regionals, and seeing that he's actually quite comfortably taking wins against those players at those big stages here.
I mean, consistency is key, right? And you have to come into a tournament not only with a team that you are very confident with and that you know all of the ins and outs of, but you need to make sure that it also has flexibility and diversity into the meta that is out there. And judging by that record, it looks like Tia Team really made an excellent call, but clearly so did Simone.
Yeah, like there's some familiar faces, of course. Originally, we were talking about this Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldengo core.
Yes.
But now the only Pokemon left on the team is the Blood Moon Ursaluna. No Goldengo to be seen, and no Dragonite either. So interesting take, switching out the Goldengo, the nasty but Goldengo, for Equivadence Volcarona, which also helps you with the speed control. It's quite interesting.
I feel like everybody just wants to be friends with Blood Moon Ursaluna, particularly as we just came out of spooky season. So we can take a look at Simone's side as well, because he's a trainer who is running that Blood Moon Ursaluna, but has paired it with a few different friends. Taking a look at his run through the tournament, right back at the beginning of the tournament, taking down that core you just mentioned. We've got the Goldengo, the Dragonite, and the Ursaluna.
Yeah, it looks like really interesting team compositions that I'm looking here as well. Playing against quite a few Italian players, making their way through the first phase. I think against Lucas, considering Lucas was 8-0 on stream in phase 2, I think there was actually a loss against the Blaziken in round 7. Which brings him at a 7-1 record after phase 1. Lucas was undefeated in phase 1. So really struggling against this really innovative combination of the Blaziken, of the Primarina, and the Excalibur.
But I think as well, when you then look at the fact that Tia Team also has had success into this team, that they have this flexibility and can be prepared for anything due to the reliability of their 6 Pokemon. I like as well taking a look at the fact that there's a lot of Porygon to Ursaluna, a lot of that Trick Room mode potentially that Simone had to contend with to get to this point.
I mean, my caster pick was the Kilowattrel, Amoonguss, and Guts Ursaluna combination, and seeing that Simone found a way to successfully defeat all of them, or like all he faced in this tournament, well, makes me quite sad, of course. Another Amoonguss failing to beat Simone here in that top cut match against Flavio.
I think as well it's interesting seeing that Federico Campruso, our regional winner from last season, lost to both of these competitors in this tournament here. The Charizard was not meant to be the regional champion this time around.
Yeah, Charizard, I mean, it won LAIC last year.
Yes, it did.
So it's definitely a good pick, and seeing that Federico and Marco, I think, gave it a shot again here in Gdansk, trying it out before the big tournament is coming up in LAIC in Brazil just in a few weeks. Seeing that Simone then actually managed to overcome and beat Lucas in Top Guide is quite inspiring.
And also you can see in Swiss Round 9 and the top 4 that we just showcased, that was Mihal that Simone was against and won both times. So actually going into that top 4, I wonder how confident Simone felt, maybe thinking, I've already beaten him once already in this tournament, I can do it again.
But there's so much that can go wrong with these games, with the speed boost, with the coaching, but we have two players ready on stage to kick it off for finals.
I'm so excited, trainers. This is the moment you have been waiting for all weekend long. Simone on your left-hand side and Tia Team on the right. Both these trainers have battled it out with all of their hearts, with all of their efforts, with their Pokemon by their side to get to this point. And now they are one set away from becoming champion.
And like these moments to take in, you're on the final stage, everyone in the crowd is watching, it's the last game on for video game. The crowd is excited, we've seen the crowd cheering on both these players, both the Volcarona sweeping through the Top Card competition here just to face off in a mirror set in the finals. It looks like the judges are ready, but the players, few moments more to take in. Keep their composure, stay calm and cool and collected.
And I think a lot of their Pokemon choices have told the tale of this tournament, not only because they're in grand finals, but because they have given us so many critical moments, whether it's Volcarona going for those Quiver Dances, whether it's the Ursaluna getting KOs with the Earth Powers. Both of these trainers have given us many memorable moments, but one more is going to be the pinnacle of their memories here in this championship.
And I would really like to hear from the players afterwards, specifically from the winner, how they came up with this team composition and how they actually managed to run the exact same team on the stage. Let's look at the accomplishments these players already have throughout the years of competing in Pokemon.
Yes, just to set the scene even more, Simone Sanvito, a previous European international champion in 2018, 2 years previous had become a regional champion in his own right in Rome, and then more recently in Lille, he became the regional champion in 2024, but in 2026 he wants to add a regional title to that roster as well.
Yeah, he's not quite done playing Pokemon yet. It's really inspiring seeing Pokemon players being able to take regional titles back in 2016, over 9 years ago at this point, but also competing at the highest level at Worlds 2018, EUIC champion 2018, and just recently, maybe after taking a longer break, in 2024, winning a regional, now being back in finals here.
Yes, and Tia Team on the opposing side also has some incredible accomplishments from 2025, so only last year can already add these four: a regional top 4, a top 4 at the special championships in Bologna, as well as EUIC getting top 8 and World's top 16. To be able to get to the top cut of those tournaments is no easy feat. It is such an accolade to be able to be proud of.
Yeah, it is the story of David against Goliath. One player has won it all, has played for over 10 years at this point, and then your newcomer, your upcomer, with an amazing season last year, performing on the highest stages, including a top 8 finish at EUIC, now facing off in finals against a player who has been playing this game for quite some time.
And in case you're wondering what team we've been talking about all weekend long, those 6 are on your screen. We will be going into a mirror, but we can recap some of the highlights on this team. We've spoken a lot about Volcarona being able to set that Quiver Dance up, and I think critically, not only thanks to its special attack being able to hit hard, but getting that speed advantage that it gains from Quiver Dance as well has been so monumental in matches.
We've seen how after a Quiver Dance, Volcarona typically outspeeds the Choice Scarf Basket Legion as well. So it's really going to come down to who can position their Volcarona better. Maybe you have to use parting shots to prevent them from increasing their special attack too much. Reposition yourself. Who is using fake out better? Maybe threatening a fake out, switching out into another fake out user to prevent this double save protect coming from coming out. And also Yawn might be a very defensive play with the Ursaluna here as well.
But we've seen Ursaluna utilize that Yawn so beautifully this tournament, forcing one of the Pokemon on the opposing side to have to make a decision. Do they switch out? Do they stay in? And obviously risk going to sleep a bit. But could they get the trade-off in that turn? Another Pokemon I want to talk about is Rillaboom. This has really been the king of consistency throughout this tournament, setting that grassy terrain, having that priority grassy glide to enable some knockouts when maybe Volcarona or Basque Legion have put in some work to whittle away at opposing Pokemon, has guaranteed a lot of knockouts.
Yeah, you have quite a few resistances to the Heat Wave spam. That is one option here after a few Quiver Dances. Your Incineroar is quite well. Basque Legion might burn, but beyond that, it takes the Heat Wave quite well. Rillaboom, as long as it's Terras into Terra Fire with up the Assault Vest. Even without the Terra Fire, the Assault Vest already helps it to take at least like one boosted heat wave.
Yes, it certainly does. And that Alolan Ninetales as well has been on form this weekend. The Encore Disable can be so disruptive. We're not seeing so much Disable necessarily. It's really about the Encore forcing opponents to think twice before they go for a Protect, before they go for a setup move, because otherwise they're not going to be able to utilize it. But trainers, the moment is here. Our grand finals of the Gdansk Regional Championships are about to unfold. Give it up for these two finalists as Volcarona and Basque Legion take to the stage. And on the opposing side, it's going to be a Volcarona and a Basque Legion.
Yeah, both trainers opted for the same lead, but there's a lot of danger here because none of these Basque Legions are intimidated. So if you just manage to get Incineroar in, you can prevent big damage. Otherwise, a wave crash could cause fundamental damage into the opposing.
Yes, these Volcaronas have not gone for Equipidance yet. They do not have the speed advantage over Basque Legion.
We also saw that Incineroar is not a safe switch because even at
Não, eu falei que eu ia na rua.
Eu
falei que ia dar uma passada na rua e já voltava.
Maybe a Terra Fire helps you to take that, maybe switching in Rillaboom to activate the grass seed as well.
Yes, adaptability, pushing that same type attack bonus even further to make Basque Legion even more formidable. But straight out of the blocks in game one here in the grand finals, we're going to see Terrestrialization take to the stage, and lo and behold, it's going to be on that Volcarona. Going into that Fairy type, now it has the utility to unlock Terra Blast into a Fairy type move.
Neither of these Pokemon players have switched out here. We see defensive play from Teal Team with the Protect. Let's see what Simona has opted to go for. There's a Wave Crash going straight into that Protect, so let's see what instead we see from Teal Teams.
Yep, great Protect coming through on that Volcarona, but the Wave Crash on Tia Team's side is going to be able to find its mark. Huge damage into the Volcarona, not enough to be able to get the KO. That Terrestrialization was key and critically allows Simone to get that Quividance up, but at what cost? Look at that damage.
There was a lot of damage. You might outspeed the opposing Basque Legion now, and maybe after that recall damage, a Terra Blast might be enough to take it out, but you just have sacrificed, or you just have traded in your Terra Fairy against like 99% of your damage, so it's really difficult to come back having invested your Terra so early in the game.
But critically, you do have a lot of speed on your side. If you're that Volcarona, you can go for the Terra Blast into the Basque Legion, try and remove it from play, or maybe now with your own Basque Legion, you can go for that Wave Crash again.
Yeah, and also this has given you now information on how much Volcarona is taking from a Wave Crash after Terra. So now Teal Team knows if I go for Terra and also bring in my Rillaboom, I'm in a somewhat decent position because my Volcarona will take the Wave Crash better, might also have the option to switch out. But instead, it is the Volcarona switching out.
Yeah, it was so close. Doesn't even want to run the risk that maybe the Volcarona with that Terra Fairy would be KO'd. Instead, let's bring in the Rillaboom, a grass-type Pokemon that is well-versed to taking water-type attacks, even from an adaptability Basque Legion. Critically, however, this is going to be able to activate the Grassy Seed on the opposing Volcarona, so it's going to get a little bit of a defense boost, but I don't think that matters. The HP is so low. Wave Crash, however, goes to the opposing Basque Legion, but it is able to hang on despite the critical hit.
This is a really interesting speed interaction because so far we thought that after Quiver Volcarona would be faster, but on Simone's team, Choice Scarf Basque Legion was still faster than the Volcarona. Double up into the Basque Legion, first Pokemon of the finals being down.
I like that targeting. The critical hit took it so low, but I think obviously without it, Simone knew it wasn't going to be able to get the knockout. You had to double into it to remove it from play. And yes, very nice observation that the Basque Legion was still going to be faster, but now you don't even have to worry about that. It is gone.
Então temos pro player de PVZ.
Has two great targets, both Basque Legion and the Volcarona this low in HP would go down to Grassy Glide with the priority move. But if you attack into the Volcarona, into Volcarona, Basque Legion just gets a Wave Crash off into the opposing Volcarona. So maybe that's what I want to see. Terra Fairy this time though boosted with the Grassy Seed before it takes the Wave Crash.
Anything you can do, I can do too, says Volcarona, as it adopts that very terrestrialization. So it is now, like you say, going to be able to have a little bit more defensive capability, particularly with that Grassy Seed activation into the potential Wave Crash. The Grassy Glide finds its mark on the opposing Volcarona, but critically for its trouble. Body activates that. Rillaboom is now burned. That means its defensive pressure is going to be weakened for the rest of this match.
Specifically for the following turn, where you would want another Grassy Glide to pick up the KO onto the Basque Legion. This no longer is an option. We see a Wave Crash going into with a critical hit, takes out the Volcarona in one hit.
What a beautiful turn here for Simone Sanvito, getting the burn on the opposing Rillaboom, getting the KO down on that Volcarona with the critical hit. This Basque Legion knows it is in the grand finals.
Such an unfortunate turn for Tier Team, because this could have looked completely different. If you withstand that move, then Rillaboom is in a great position if it isn't burned. You get a Quiver Dance, or maybe even go out for the offensive and take a knockout there as well. There were so many options, but amazing turn. Very fortunate for Simone here in the finals, puts him in the driving seat, and Tier Team down to their last two Pokemon with the Rillaboom and the Incineroar.
Now that Incineroar coming in on Tier Team's side, knowing that it's in there, the Intimidate would have been so great maybe down into that Basque Legion in the previous turn, but no, it's here now and it has some options. It can go for the fake out into the opposing Incineroar. My question, Barish, is Basque Legion in prime position just go for another wave crash now?
Another wave crash, take out another knockout. You can also swap out and get it back in, refresh from that Intimidate, but Incineroar is not in a great position here. We see the fake out as well. Intimidate now sticks onto both Rillaboom and the Incineroar. There's the wave crash. Incineroar goes down.
Despite the Intimidate, Basque Legion is here to try and get the champion title. It gets another KO. I love how Simone leaves the Rillaboom alone going, you have been burnt, you've also been intimidated, so you're not going to go for a grassy guide. You have to go for the wood hammer in order to get the KO, and that enables the speedier Basque Legion to have got that wave craft off.
Yeah, eventually Basque Legion faints and is out of battle here, but it has done so much work in this game. Caused like two big knockouts there with the critical hit, with the Incineroar being down to one shot as well, and now Rillaboom hits the field. Incineroar Rillaboom against the burn Rillaboom. That's a great position to be in. You just fake out knockoff, and yeah, Tier Team sees that. There's no way to come back into this game. Simone takes game one.
I mean, we've been kind of asking the question all weekend long, how do you stop Volcarona? And it turns out that these Titans who have been using Volcarona to great success had the answer on their own teams the whole time. In both situations, the Basque Legion was a critical Pokemon to weaken the opposing Volcarona, but in the trade-off, in the comparison, Simone's with that critical hit was able to be victorious.
Yeah, it's really not what I expected from this mirror match here, that it would be so all-out offensive from the very first turn, both leading with the Volcarona, with the Basque Legion, trading off damage there, not going for the Rillaboom switch in, which felt very safe, also to give yourself a booster, maybe with the Terra Fairy, but we've seen, even if you go for that play, you might be crit and out of competition.
I mean, going into game 2 now, you've got to be thinking of your Simone, that your confidence is sky high. I love the way both these trainers led with the same leads. You can see they're well versed with their teams. They saw the Volcarona and Basque Legion were optimal. But I have to ask Barish, going into this, do you go with the same leads, or is there something that Tier Team can do to throw Simone off his game?
Yeah, it's difficult. Maybe either of these players now opts for a more defensive playstyle. It reminds me something like a Rillaboom and a Osaluna lead. Maybe take the defensive route, fake out Yawn, and then try to set up eventually. You have your Volcarona in the back, switching in the right moment, and Basque Legion just waiting to take those big knockouts. But once again, I want to point out how this was the first time that a Scarf Basque Legion on stream outsped a Quiver Dance +1 speed Volcarona.
That's true. It's interesting information to take from game 1, and now that game 2 is underway, these trainers are going to have to utilize this. Simone Sanvito, 1 game away from becoming champion. He sticks with the same leads, but it looks like Tier Team is shaking things up. Volcarona is still here, but Incineroar's here to play.
Yeah, but keep in mind that Incineroar is not safe on the field, because a wave crash, even at -1, was able, with fake out chip in the last game, but we also saw on stream that even without the fake out damage, is enough to take out that knockout. And I mean, if you don't tear the opposing Volcarona either, it also might go down this early on. But I think Intimidate, bringing your Rillaboom, Grassy Seed activation, that could get TOT what he needs.
Maybe Basque Legion is going to pick up game 2 as it ended game 1 and just go for those wave crashes and get a lot of damage out on the board, but no surprises to see Terrestrialization come forward from these trainers. The Volcarona is going to be going into that Terra Fairy once again. This does give it a little bit more defensive capability against those wave crashes, but as we've seen, it's barely able to hang on if that wave crash is able to connect. Basque Legion takes to the seas, turns down against the Incineroar, but it is not enough to get a knockout.
Yeah, it seems to be Teo Team saw that this particular Basque Legion is faster than Volcarona, which might indicate that it's a Jolly variant, and then Incineroar might have a better chance to survive here. We see that he traded that damage into the Incineroar for making sure that he has a full HP Terra Fairy Volcarona boosted with 1 Quiver Dance, and potentially gets a knockoff or a padding shot into the Volcarona here.
Well, there's the parting shot, connects into the Volcarona on Simone's side. Both Volcaronas went for the Quiver Dance. I believe Tier Teams went first. That could be an indication of how the speeds are going to interact in the following turn.
Yeah, we might also be fooled, and maybe this Volcarona is just really slow from Simila.
Maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
That would also allow the Volcarona to be outspent by Choice Scout Basque Legion. So potentially, despite looking at a mirror, these Pokemon might be trained completely different. And maybe two teams of Volcarona is actually faster than the Basque Legion after this boost.
Well, we know that Simone's Basque Legion is locked into that wave crash, and now the Basque Legion on Tia Team's side has joined the fray. Do you feel like there's any reason to change it up, go for the wave crash again?
Yeah, you probably just go for the wave crash again. I mean, can't really count on the crit once again. We have yet to see if the Volcarona from Simone is faster than the opposing, but he plays it safe here and goes for the protect play.
Yeah, maybe feels the wave crash was going to be the target into that slot, goes for the protect, but the Basque Legion on Simone's side is going to be able to get that wave crash off first, does just over 50% to that opposing Volcarona, putting in a precarious situation for the next turn potentially, as the Volcarona has to try and hit its marks. Is able to connect the heat wave on the Basque Legion, not enough to be able to get the KO, but does get the burn. A little bit of redemption for that Rillaboom in the previous game.
A very crucial burn here, because I was going to say, if you don't take the knockout and allow that Basque Legion to attack once again in the next turn, that might be really important here. Heat wave connecting, making a mark, making a burn mark also.
Definitely, but I think critically, you now don't guarantee, I believe, necessarily that wave crash will get the Volcarona this turn.
Yeah, it was around 60%, so half that is 30, 60, and 30 might not quite add up to 100 in this case here. So this, like, except for a potential crit, this might not be enough and gives the Volcarona team just another turn.
It certainly puts a question mark on those calculations, and Simone now has to think about the Volcarona. You've gone for the protect. Is it now time to unleash that Terra Fairy to be able to protect it from the wave crashes from the opposing Basque Legion?
Yeah, and then, like hacks we haven't talked about, is like the heat waves into opposing Terra Fairy Volcaronas. Especially if both of them are boosted, it's going to be very close to see if that heat wave is enough, and also which Volcarona is faster.
Well, here we go again. Volcarona shedding its bug and fire type and instead becoming a beautiful fairy up there on grand final stage. Just having that defensive capabilities from the wave crash, but its partner Basque Legion is going to be first. As you can see, the burn meaning it's not enough to be able to get the KO. So Volcarona on Timote's side is going to be able to go for this Terra Blast. It's finding its mark across the battlefield into that opposing Volcarona, knowing that if the wave crash is following up from this Basque Legion, it's going to be able to get the KO. Volcarona is able to get the heat wave off, but Basque Legion still in play.
Really interesting speed interactions, even between the same four Pokemon on the field here. Volcaronas and Basque Legions outspeeding each other. Maybe with the combination of Wave Crash and the Terra Blast is enough to take out the Volcarona. Great play from Teo Team here, but another Flame Buddy burn.
I feel like I've seen this story before. Both Volcaronas go down, both these trainers trading them in a way to be able to remove the threat from the field, but both the Basque Legions are burned for their efforts. Critically, however, I think Simone's one has less HP remaining. Is it going to be KO? Yes, it is. It's gone.
Yeah, Simone down 2 Pokemon here. From what we've seen, I think the last two Pokemon are both Incineroar and Rillaboom. And Teo Team still has an Incineroar themselves that they can switch in at any point to put Intimidate onto those 2 physical attackers. So it really comes down to what is the last Pokemon on Teo Team's side? We might guess if it's a full mirror, then they might also have Rillaboom.
Well, Rillaboom the Recluse is going to have to get out and socialize here on the field as the Incineroar comes through on Tia Team's side. Now, I feel like the script has been flipped a little bit from game 1 to game 2, because in game 1, Simone was able to apply all of the pressure with Intimidates and things like that, but now Tia Team in a prime position to threaten both these physical attackers and neutralize them towards this endgame state.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the burn, one potential play would have been fake out the Rillaboom, prevent the Grassy Glide, and then even at -1, your Wave Crash would have taken out the Incineroar, but that's no longer an option, and it's going to be... Teo Team is in a really difficult position thanks to that burn to overcome the, just with power of Incineroar and Rillaboom on the field here. Potentially, Incineroar might just switch out to get his second Intimidate into the game. Maybe that helps it in the combination with Rillaboom in the back to actually overcome this duel. It's really difficult from this position on.
And we don't have any fire type moves on these Incineroars either, so there is the potential of trying to get some good damage onto the opposing Rillaboom. You're really going to be relying on a Rillaboom knockoff to be able to get that damage in play. I like the way Basque Legion is switching out. The potential Grassy Glide would have been very dangerous for it to contend with, so if you bring in another Rillaboom, then you have a way of avoiding that. And critically, you don't even have to go for Grassy Glide if Fake Out can get the KO onto the opposing Incineroar.
Yeah, Teo Team is shaking his head, not happy with those plays. How it turns out, Incineroar coming with the knockoff here, Intimidated, still does decent damage, but knocking off the Soul Burst will not play a role against these 2 physical attackers.
Exactly, you didn't need that Soul Burst anyway, Rillaboom. You look great as it is in this grand finals, as the Basque Legion can rejoin the fray. Now, it is burned, but is it going to be able to still do enough significant damage? Maybe followed up with high horsepower into the Incineroar?
Yeah, gonna be
tô
really close
almoçando
here.
agora
You
e
have to
depois
fake out
vou
pressure as well, so maybe fake out wave
comendo
crash,
rodízio.
fake out
Deixa a barriga
last
bem
respect
vazia,
spikes,
ô
like put
Alexandre.
enough
Come,
damage on the field so that
almoça,
Rillaboom can
né?
then close it out. Keep in mind,
Você
both
vai
of Simone's
mais à
Pokémon are
noite?
intimidated
Se
here
for
as
de
well.
noite,
That
dá até
intimidate
pra
sticks for the
lanchar
rest
esse
of the
pão.
game. It might just be enough damage here. Fake out,
Agora,
prevent the grassing light. Let's see what this
se você for de
Best League is
tarde,
looking into.
It goes for the wave
nem
crash.
come
This
esse
might
pão.
indeed be its last hurrah into the Incineroar. Huge amount of damage despite that burn. Does take a little bit of recoil, but Incineroar is still here in the game. It can go for that knockoff into the Ghost type and get the KO. Now there's just the Rillaboom on Tier Team side to contend with.
Yeah, both these Rillabooms. I mean, this game is far from over. Like, Tier Team still has a full HP Rillaboom on the field. It's not intimidated. You have a free KO into that Incineroar, but then the question is Rillaboom against Rillaboom. Who's going to come out as the winner?
They've both got the grassy terrain recovery until it expires. You know, there's no opportunity to start switching them out. And I think,
então
has
dá
it expired already?
tempo.
No, it's still in play.
Dependendo da hora que tu for
Still there.
lanchar, sei
And
lá,
that's
umas
something that you
5,
have to bear with
6
as well,
horas.
because if you're doing these damage calculations, you
Se
have
for
to make
5
sure that you're
horas,
keeping
tu
your Pokemon in the game.
come
Also
um
keep in
pão
mind,
aí,
these Incineroars are not running
mas
flat,
guarda o
so you can't
estômago
really
pro
threaten too much pressure into the
rodízio.
Rillaboom. So maybe you take out the opposing Rillaboom first and then go for the Incineroar, because now that the Solvers is knocked off, knockoff won't do too much damage, but surprisingly this Incineroar is incredibly fast.
Simone's Incineroar setting up for the end game. It cannot intimidate anymore, but it can still lower the attack with that parting shot. And Woodhammer, we've seen time and time again this weekend in terrain, still dealing significant damage into opposing Rillaboom. High horsepower, however, is going to take care of that Incineroar. And here in our grand finals game 2, we are going to see two titans of the metagame, Rillaboom versus Rillaboom.
Pra mim,
I
às
really love
3
the
horas eu
adaptation
tô
of this
comendo
really
pão.
fast, speedy
Ah,
Incineroar,
então é de
outspeeding
boas.
opposing Rillabooms on
Então tu,
teams as well.
tu é
We've seen Michelle
bastante, tu
Kelch in
guarda
the past running
bastante, então.
a max speed Incineroar, but now it is Rillaboom against Rillaboom. First Woodhammer coming out here. We'll see how much the unintimidated Woodhammer will do though.
Yeah, Woodhammer coming down into the opposing side. It did take that drop thanks to the parting shot, but you can see how minimal this damage is, and critically, they're getting that recovery. But also, one other thing to bear in mind is the more damage you deal to your opponent, the more recoil you are taking. But Simone's looks to be in the stronger position right now.
Not only that, but it also seems to be fast attacking first twice. Another Woodhammer coming into, not quite enough. We'll see if the recoil is enough, or if potentially this Woodhammer crits to get him back into the game.
Woodhammer does come down. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Simone Sanvito, if that Rillaboom is indeed able to outspeed, is going to be able to take the victory.
There's one more game dividing us between winning this regional here. Let's see if Simone's, I mean, even without the grassy terrain, this Woodhammer should be enough.
You know what's coming. Woodhammer goes down into Rillaboom. That's a knockout. And Simone Sanvito, with Rillaboom by his side, with Alolan Ninetales in the team, is your 2026 Gdansk Regional Champion.
Yet another regional title, 2 already in the books. He joins the exclusive club of multiple regional title champions here in Europe. 3 championship titles. Incredible season, just this early on.
Absolutely incredible to be able to see Simone so dominant in that game. Commiserations to Tier Team, but in that end game state, watching the Rillabooms face down against each other, trying to show which one is going to have the edge, the advantage, the difference between a runner-up and a champion. Simone's Rillaboom rang true.
I really didn't expect this pure offensive mirror match in the finals. They both have some defensive capabilities. Neither of them opted for them.
Aí, GG, será que no rodízio, vai ter pizza? Olha, o Alexandre, normalmente rodízio normalmente é de massas, né? Normalmente é de massas, ou seja, é de macarrão e pizza, entendeu? Se você vai numa pizzaria, é um rodízio de pizza específico. Agora, se você vai num rodízio, vai ter tanto macarrão quanto pizza, entendeu? Então, você sabe em qual exatamente você vai, e aí facilita, entendeu? E assim, não sei como é que, pelo menos, não sei como é que é por aí, mas aqui é assim. No rodízio de massa vem primeiro os macarrões, né, vem as massas e depois vem a pizza, entendeu? Vamos de pizza, então, é numa pizzaria. Então é garantido vir pizza, não tem como não vir pizza.
new Pokemon as well, but taking this team by storm and in a mirror match, winning in regions in Gdansk, respect.
Yes, to our champion indeed, and what a run Simone has had through this tournament. We can recap again every single battler who has stood in his way and all of those victories that he's been able to take down. His run through Swiss was particularly impressive, only taking that one loss to Lucas and that creative team, but eventually getting redemption against Lucas later on in day 2.
Not only against Lucas, but also I think the second phase started, or the second day started with a loss against Lewis that was then also later on overcome as well. So seeing that you can learn from your losses and come back into this tournament is quite impressive, quite inspiring.
This was something we were saying earlier. True champions don't just look at their wins, they look at their losses, where they maybe made mistakes, oversights, so that they can learn, they can grow and adapt for the next time they face that team or that opponent. And that's something that Simone Sanvito has showcased so beautifully here at this regional championships, losing to certain players, but later on getting that redemption. I mean, some of the names on here as well are so well credited as trainers, so it's been a tough run for Simone, but hey, he's our champion at the end of the day.
I mean, I'm speechless. Simone taking another regional title in 2026, winning against Teo Team, winning against Flavio, rematch against Lucas, quite a few games, of course, beating the local hero of Michal in top 4 as well. This was a very impressive run, and it's like, people keep saying Regulation Age is solved, but we keep saying new teams rising on top.
And I was there when Simone Sanvito won his European title. I spoke to him in the winner's interview, and I just remember that heartfelt moment where I saw a trainer who finally was really believing in himself. And Simone Sanvito is a trainer that's well known in our community. Sometimes he has bad days, and you can see that that is something where he wants to grow from and he wants to learn. And to see him on top, see him confident and flourishing once more, makes me so proud as a member of this community to see.
And it's another Italian player taking a title as well.
What can I say? Italian VGC is so incredibly strong. They bring some great teams, some great competitive energy, and it's a wonderful showcase for us to watch, and I hope you viewers at home have enjoyed it too.
I mean, it shows you that having like a strong local community, having strong locals, just having this regular practice against like really high players, high caliber players, just is exactly what you need to then perform well at regional stages.
For sure, and when we looked at our grand finals, we actually saw a mirror match between Pokemon, so let's compare these consistent Pokemon to the usage stats from day 2 and whether or not they feature. Let's have a little run through Simone and Tia Team's team. We've got Incineroar, we've got the Rillaboom, we've got the Ursaluna, the Ninetales, the Basque Legion, and that Volcarona. Look at that, 6 for 6.
Yeah, 6 for 6, but most importantly, they found a way to replace the Dragonite and the Golden Go with 2 new options that also helped them succeed in this format. So the top row is no longer the top contenders by themselves.
That's true. It's actually a little bit more of a mix that has been shuffled around to create that winning combination. Of course, Incineroar and Rillaboom are just such a tried and tested combination, but the fact that Basque Legion, not with the Pelipper, and this is something we discussed where in day 1, Pelipper and Basque Legion are side by side, but in day 2, Pelipper kind of takes the skies, flies away, and leaves Basque Legion on its own. But I think it's because the Basque Legion that is that Choice Scarf adaptability version is maybe the more dominant compared to its Swift Swim counterpart.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. I think we had one regions of our Basque Legion on the rain team succeeded as well. I think it was Pittsburgh. And now seeing like the Choice Gap variant, I think here's the thing. Players, especially if you play a lot of games, you have like a good feeling of damage calculations and how much super effective base power. You get a feeling for them. Adaptability is one of those abilities that like throws up your calcs because you don't really understand easily what like the damage multiplier is and how it affects damage calcs. So we see that a wave crash KOs even at -1 in HP, unless, however, of course here, potentially Jolly loses that little bit of extra power and Incineroar was able to survive.
And that's those high-level team-building techs that you can start looking at, how to train your Pokemon to be speedier, more offensive, more bulky. And those little details, those small changes, even amongst Pokemon that are the standard 6, let's say, by name, can be what determines a victory at the end of the day. I want to talk about Sneasler a little bit as well, because this is a Pokemon throughout this regulation. It's got a lot of love, a lot of support, but I really want to credit Mihawk's particular version of Sneasler being that more tried and tested focus sash with the Dive, still trusting those secondary effects, giving him that little bit of an extra edge in a match compared to maybe the more traditional but I suppose the new form of Sneasler that we're seeing out there with the acrobatics.
It's really interesting to see how the metagame develops. We had Milwaukee with a mirror match in finals. now we have a new mirror match in finals, and people will have to adapt. They will have to find answers into that Corona, into that Luna as well. Two new Pokemon rising on top, not quite on the radar for last weekend, where it was all about the other competition. So we'll have to see how people react. Let's have a look at the top 8 graphic to give you an idea of all the teams that are involved in this tournament.
Particularly if maybe you're planning for the Latin America International Championships, you have to take note of these teams and all of the teams that were in our top 8, because you may very well be facing down against them, or maybe they have inspired some inspiration for you to pick up and play yourself.
Yeah, Basque Legion, 3 out of 4 in top 4. That's quite an impressive statement here from Gdansk. Juan Salerno traveling all the way over to play Lille, and Gdansk finds himself with a top 3 finish, as he would like to say as well. Yeah. Other teams sticking out is, of course, the Sun team from Federico and one Rain team with Pelipa and Torbeid as well.
I honestly think that Sun team is going to be one to watch for the future. It has a lot of potential offensively if you can get that Charizard in the Sun, as well as having the flexibility with Porygon 2 and Ursaluna. And I feel like that mode of the team, that slower mode, and Trick Room in general, is not something we've seen dominate here in Gdansk. It's really been more about speed control manipulation from Icy Winds or Electro Web, or even just those abilities being unleashed.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter where you're watching from. I think it's really inspiring to see so many different regions being represented here at the event. It is the local hero that I mentioned a couple of times. Lucas from Denmark also making a mark here at the event with their favorite Pokemon in Blaziken and the Excalibur. We have Rain and Sun, Matteo, a few Italians, of course, big names like Simone and Federico, but also Matteo finding their way into the top 8 competition.
And let's not forget about Juan either, all the way from the Latin America region, and just showing us Europeans how it is done by being in our top 4, going undefeated to that point as well, really establishing himself as a contender for the Latin America International Championships. But before we can start thinking about the future events, we've got one more thing we need to do here. I think it's time to crown our champion. So Ben, over to you.
Trainers, we have had such a fantastic competition here in Gdansk. We've had so many moments, so many situations where new trainers have been able to make it all the way. We've had the local heroes, we've had trainers traveling from all across the globe to compete here in Gdansk, where 440 trainers started us off at the start of our competition. 60 made it into phase 2 before we whittled it down to just 14 competitors. Now we've had a mix of experience being very, very prevalent here in our top cut. We've had new trainers making waves here, and after getting top 8 in EUIC, a top 4 in 2 regional championships, he's finally made his way through to his first finals. Give it up for our finalist here at Gdansk, Tier Team Masu. Tier Team, congratulations. You've been a fantastic competitor. We've seen you on stream multiple times. How does it feel to finally break through that top 4 barrier?
Félicitations, excellent compétiteur. On t'a vu beaucoup de fois en stream. Qu'est-ce que ça te fait de enfin aller en finale?
C'est quand même, ça fait du bien. Ça fait 2 fois du coup que j'avais échoué en demi-finale, et là, bon, c'est une première, pas gagnée, mais c'est déjà vraiment un grand plaisir.
Feels very good. It's been 2 times lost in top 4. Finally getting to the finals. Not a win, but still feeling very good.
You can definitely be very, very proud of yourself, Tier Team, and I know there's a lot of people in the crowd out here that have been supporting you in your community. What do you have to say to all of the people that have helped you along the way?
Je peux vraiment être fier de toi, de ton parcours. Il sait qu'il y a beaucoup de gens dans la foule qui te supportent parmi la communauté. Qu'est-ce que tu as envie de leur dire?
Ouais, bah déjà merci à mon équipe PES de m'avoir soutenu, et puis à toutes les personnes, que ce soit dans la communauté française, et tous les messages que j'ai reçus de soutien, donc de la communauté française ainsi que de l'équipe. Et ouais, gros big up à Odog David, à Adam Chafaoui et à tout mon groupe de prep. Merci.
Thank you to my team for supporting me, for the people in the crowd as well, and special shout out to Odog David and Adam Chafaoui and his team training partners. So.
Thank you so much, Tier Team. We're going to let you go and celebrate with your friends out there in the crowd. But for one last time, please give it up for our finalists here in Gdansk, Tier Team Masu. Now, it wouldn't be a competition without a winner, and our winner is a former international champion. He's been able to make 2 regional finals already, but why not a third here? Give it up for our winner of the Gdansk Regional Championship, Simone Sanvito! Congratulations, you've been a fantastic competitor across all of the years that I've had the privilege of knowing you within the game. What does it feel like to win not the first, not the second, but the third regional title?
It feels amazing. I'm happy that I'm not the only Italian to have lost finals, but at least we have the Italian triplets as regional winners in Europe.
You're doing very, very well, and I'm sure your whole community is proud of you. Now, you've been playing for a long time. You've had tournament results stretching through all of your career. What advice would you give to players at home that are just getting started in the game?
Just get yourself out, don't be afraid of losing, and ask advice. The community is very helpful with... I guess what I'm saying is don't be afraid to get out there and lose and look bad. Nobody's gonna judge you, nobody's gonna remember your bad plays after
Salerno.
Those happen. The important thing is to learn from your mistakes and keep going. There's always room to grow in this game. There will always be someone better than you in this game. So strive to be your best possible version of yourself.
It's absolutely perfect advice, and I hope all of you at home can take something away from Simone's success here. Now, Simone, you've also got a lot of friends out there in the crowd here, all of the people at home that have been supporting you. What do you say to those people that have helped you along the way? Thank you so much, Simone. I didn't quite catch all of that, but I'm sure everybody at home did. Thank you very much. You've been a fantastic competitor. Congratulations once again on your win. And join me in another congratulations for our winner here in Gdansk, Simone Sanvito. What an amazing competition we've had, but it's not quite over yet. So, without further ado, we're going to get over to the couch where we're going to be wrapping things up here in Gdansk and just tying a nice, neat bow on the whole experience we've had this weekend. There's so much that we can all take away. So don't go anywhere, trainers, because we'll be right back very soon.
São Paulo aí, ó. Ô, Alexandre, tu falou, tu me perguntou, mas eu te pergunto. Tu me perguntou, mas eu te pergunto. Tu já mordeu o sabão? Será que vai? Não vai nem mostrar nada? Será que eu ver? Vamos ver se vai mostrar alguma coisa. ver. Ah, eles vão mostrar.
Well, what a tournament it's been so far here in Gdansk. We know who our winner is. I'm Ben, I'm joined by Barish, Jamie and Lou, and it has just been such an amazing weekend, and there's so many congratulations that we have for all of our winners here in Gdansk. It's been ups and downs. It's been a lot of different moments. We've had people traveling from all over the world to compete. We've had the local hero making it all the way into top 4, not quite being able to clinch it this time, but it's certainly on their way to their potential next win. And we've got so much of the season left to look forward to. Barish, what has been your standout moment here this weekend?
With the right partner on your side, it's very easy to shine, and we've seen how in the finals the Basque Legion was the hero of the weekend, but also congratulations to Lou for winning the Castles pick with that Volcarona.
What can I say? Volcarona was a great choice, and I think that's probably my highlight of this entire weekend, is that people have been able to really see what Volcarona could offer, and it's been showcased so beautifully by both of our finalists, no less.
Definitely. I mean, that Volcarona did so much work for our champion, Simone Sanvito, who has been able to take home the crown. But there's also the seniors and the juniors division that we've been able to crown a champion in. Jamie, these champions are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, congratulations to Magnus in the junior division and Alberto in the senior division. And of course, we were able to witness the victory of his third regional championship, Simone Sanvito, being able to take that. It used to be just my thing. But there's too many great trainers that can
We were talking beforehand, Jamie, and you said the words, I used to be special, now I'm 1/10 special, because all of these trainers have been able to catch up. Simone is absolutely worthy of that accolade, as well as the many other trainers that have been able to clinch multiple regional titles. And let's have a look at those regional winners here this weekend and see who already has clinched their direct invitation to the World Championships.
I love that we're able to fill this graphic up more and more after every event. Emanuele, Marco, and Simone. I feel like, Ben, I'm seeing a little bit of a theme between our trainers here. I have to say, Italian VGC is going to be unstoppable at our next events, but also at the Latin American International Championships just around the corner.
They certainly are, and speaking of which, we have so many highlights coming up on our EU regional calendar. We've got 3 in the books here in Europe, but there is so much still to look forward to, especially since we know what the next format is going to be.
Yeah, but for one more time, we have the International Championships in Brazil and Sao Paulo, also featuring the regulation age, and then one more event in Europe with Stuttgart in Germany to give regulation age one last hurrah. Next year, though, we start in Birmingham, eventually end up in London for the European International Championships. Quite a few more events, and actually an Italian event. Like, these Italians are winning all these regions so far. They still have their own special event coming up at the end of the season. New Orleans for the NAIC, and of course Pokemon XP and Pokemon Worlds coming to San Francisco in August next year.
It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. We don't know exactly what to expect from Pokemon XP, but the fact that there's something else going on there is absolutely crazy. I cannot wait as we get through the season to learn more.
It's going to be epic, right? I mean, the World Championships are always my favorite thing to watch of the season, but with the XP, there's going to be even more action, right, Jamie?
Oh yeah, for sure. And just the World Championships itself, we had that massive step up. The arena experience was fantastic, and we're going to be going to an even bigger arena in San Francisco. So it's no surprise why we've got so many trainers vying for that World Championship qualification.
It's all about Worlds at the end of the day, but it's not just about Worlds, it's about the journey that we've been on across the season long. Now, if you want to keep up with what's going on this week, we've got our Twitch schedule here on Tuesday. We've got Pokemon Master Quest going on before we have a rerun of what happened in the LAIC TCG International Championships on Wednesday. Bit more Master Quest before we go back on Saturday. We get a little bit of movie night going on there on Twitch as well with Pokemon Jirachi Wishmaker. I'm looking forward to movie nights are always a good time.
Definitely, particularly with Jirachi, you can make some wishes, maybe ahead of your next Pokemon tournament, wish to be that next champion. Could be successful for you, eh?
well, what next champion are we going to crown? I think Las Vegas is going to be the next event that we're going to be finding out what is going to be going on in Regulation Set H. In Europe, we only have Stuttgart left, but across the pond, on November 14th to November 16th is Las Vegas.
15 e 16 aí, estaremos cobrindo o evento em Vegas.
I've seen a lot of players excited to visit the city and compete in one more regional before he eventually head to LAIC.
Well, we've already teased it as well. There's not just the Las Vegas Regional Championships, there is also the Stuttgart Regional Championships that are going to be going on very, very soon, and that's going to be after LAIC, so really looking forward to how things are going to be shaping up there.
Yeah, because it's going to be our last tournament of Regulation H, and we'll have had our Latin American International as well to see what develops there. I'm really curious to see, do the trainers stick with, well, this is the consistent team, and this is just the last time I get to go for that consistency, or are they saving, for the very last moment, some extra spice?
Well, if you want to find out what extra spice our trainers are going to be using across the last tournaments of Regulation Set H, then do make sure that you follow along with Pokemon.com/broadcast. That's where you can find out what's going on our next regional schedules, our international schedules as well. Anywhere where you want to watch a bit of Pokemon, Pokemon.com/broadcast. And of course, make sure to follow the channels as well. Make sure to ring the old bell to make sure that you get notified in advance when we go live too, so you don't miss any of the actions. And if you're enjoying it, make sure that you let us know with that hashtag #PlayPokemon across all of our socials down there below. It is brilliant to see what you're getting up to, whether you're playing and competing on these championship weekends, or if you're watching from home, or with the new ZA coming out, like, what's your character customization going on? We love to see that, and hashtag #PlayPokemon is the way to do that. So, without further ado, I think we can call that one a little bit of a wrap. And I'm really sad to be saying that.
Too bad.
I think we got Barish come. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure welcoming you to the team this weekend. Jamie and Lou, you're over there on the other couch. Make sure that you follow us along in Las Vegas and Stuttgart, and of course LAIC. But until then, trainers, we will see you next time.
É isso, chat. Vamos ficando com a live por aqui. Obrigado a todo mundo que acompanha esses 2 dias aí. A live deu uma queda, mas fazer o quê? Nos vemos na próxima. Amanhã, né? Amanhã já tem live. Provavelmente de Pokémon Platinum. Mas amanhã próximo regional agora é dia 15 e 16, ou seja, semana que vem já, beleza? Bom, eu vou ficando por aqui, gente. Uma ótima tarde de domingo pra vocês. Tudo de bom, um abraço a todos. Nos vemos na próxima. É isso, gente. Falou e fui! Não esqueçam de beber água, chat. Falou!